What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Wednesday morning show, gang. That's right. Bright and early, couple minutes after 10 o'clock. Getting started tackling a April Fool's slate. I guess they figured that's good enough to have basically all the teams playing in the afternoon. Celebratory kind of a day. I love a good afternoon full of baseball. This is a very solid day. We've got 13 games in play across two pretty different slates. 10 games on both sites. The first three games, Athletics and the Braves, the Rangers and the Orioles, the Pirates and the Reds. Those are all in the 12 o'clock hour. Those are on DraftKings. Whoop. I wake up to that in the morning. Let me shut the other ones off. It's probably cascading alarms. I've been shutting these off all morning while I've been working on these projections. Let me make sure no more go off during the show. It's 10:04. Oh, that was actually the last one. That's the hey dummy, time to get up alarm. So as I was saying, those three games on the DraftKings slate, as are the 7 games after that, but then they don't have the Tigers, the Yankees, and the Giants games. FanDuel, the other way around. They do have the bottom 3 games. They do not have the top 3. FanDuel starts at 1:05. DraftKings starts at 12:15. So be aware of that. We will do our best to not crash directly into the DraftKings slate, but it's probably going to be pretty close. I am going to be updating throughout the show. Anytime we get a handful of lineups in, I'll make sure that we update the website. Somebody remind me as well, though, as we're doing that. And we'll be sure that everybody's on top of everything. Good to see everybody who's here so far. Cheers. A little coffee going, I'm sure, across the board. Jason Bailey is here. Hey, isn't this the guy who got fired from Stochastic? Yes, this is a guy who got fired from Stochastic because I told him what a dumb name that is. Cujo, what's going on? Colin Sutherland, Andy GPS, Beyond the Rabbit Hole, Stephen Leibowitz, C-Wiz. What's going on, gang? Good to see you, Jason. Welcome, welcome. Steven, that's a good question. I actually did not stop to check the weather. Gorgeous day here in Jersey City. Once again, I forgot what Ross' new site is. What is it? Prop something? Prop. There it is. Prop Finder. Gotta remember that. Or just bookmark it. The problem is my list of bookmarks is a mile long, so that won't help. Yeah, it looks like we got a little rain in the Cincy area, potentially. Warm, overcast kind of a day. It seems like he's got it as yellow. 62% chance of precipitation in that one. And then St. Louis again. That one he's got as yellow as well. 77% chance of precipitation there. 66 degrees in St. Louis, 74 degrees in Cincinnati for that Reds game. And then... what else? The game at Wrigley Field has gotten even worse, the conditions, than we had yesterday. It was down to, at least when I put the Vegas board together a little while ago, 6.5 runs, reduced by another half run from what we saw yesterday. 39 degrees, wind blowing in dead from dead center field, 17-mile-an-hour wind blowing in. So miserable hitting conditions once again out in Wrigley. And then no spots of concern until the night slate. If you're playing the night slate, you might run into some rain in Kansas City. But that's about it. So, yeah, the ones to watch again, Cincinnati, St. Louis, the Pirates and the Reds, and the Mets and the Cards games. But good call out there early, but appreciate the reminder. Okay, Jason. Whatever, man. I don't really care either way, but that is actually why I got fired. These guys have all heard this story before. I guess you're new. Anyway, welcome aboard. Once again, weird to start just randomly criticizing things at the beginning of a show. You got fired because you are not good. Simple as that. I am good. How about you? Obviously, you're here, so it says something. So weird. Anyway, Nice big slate. No time to waste talking to the bots and the fucking weirdos. Athletics and the Braves, an 8-run total there, 4.81 implied on the Braves side, pulling down one of the bigger implied totals overall. Definitely targetable spot for offense. Always like those Braves bats. They're going against what remains of Luis Severino. Capable starter here and there, but not a great year last year. The year got off to a okay start. He gave up 2 over his first 5 innings of the season, faced 20 hitters against the Blue Jays. Can break off capable starts like that, but a high danger spot for him. And he's going up against Chris Sale. So not a good opportunity for his team to give him a win or any kind of support there. Just a 3.31 implied total against one of the best pitchers in baseball. Sale looked pretty tremendous today. Nathan Eovaldi against Trevor Rogers. Eovaldi, a little bit bumpy, 5 earned runs over 4 2/3 in his first start. Trevor Rogers, a lot better, went 7, which was very surprising, I think, out of the gate to be as strong as he was in that first start. 7 innings, 3 hits, struck out 5, walked 4, something to watch there, but tremendous outing. And obviously, full depth engaged. Basically everybody at full depth in this one. Basically everybody, I think only one. Was it just Hauser, I think, making his first start? I think everybody else has a start under their belt for the season. So basically full go as far as the depth of start goes. Big piece, Paul Skeens on the DraftKings slate. In Cincinnati would be the one thing working against him, looking for a little redemption from that 2/3 of an inning disaster of a start he had against the Mets on opening day. That was a little problematic for him. He's going to be working that ERA off for the better part of 2 months. Gave up 5 earned on 4 hits, so faced 9 hitters, struck out 1, walked 2. If you were watching that, it was a dink and dunk fest. And it was O'Neal Cruz misplaying 2 balls in the outfield back to back. Just a total disaster. Every single thing that could have gone wrong went wrong against Paul Skeens that day. So you just scratch it off. It's bound to happen here and there throughout the career, but this is the best or second best pitcher in baseball behind another guy that we'll be talking about in just a minute. So Paul Skeens, fire away, should get back on track today. The one thing really working against him, a couple power bats in that Reds lineup, and that is a bandbox of a ballpark, but a 3.39 implied total. 4.21 on the Pirates side. They're looking pretty decent. We talked about some of the bats they added to that team in the offseason. They've got some frisky upside bats. They've got some potential stars like O'Neal Cruz, who went off yesterday, 2-home-run day. Looks pretty tremendous. They're going up against Andrew Abbott. I like the upside for them. I like getting them against the lefty. You do take Cruz down the lineup potentially in a lefty-lefty spot, but there's a lot of power upside against Abbott and in this ballpark. So I do like that spot, getting to some Pittsburgh bats on that DraftKings slate. You welcome in FanDuel at the Nationals game. Nats, Phillies, Phil's top implied total across the 2 slates, 5.01 implied. They're going up against the Nats at just a 3-1-3. Nats take on Chrissy Sanchez, who we love around here. Cade Cavalli on the bump for the Nationals. Fire away with Phillies bats. They look fantastic. I'm sure they will be popular, though. The Rockies and the Blue Jays. How about Max Scherzer having a good start yesterday, as we talked about going into that Rockies one? Not a crazy call, but he wasn't as popular as he should have been. Today we get Kevin Gausman, who had a terrific first start. 1 earned run, struck out 11 Athletics in that first game. Faced 19 hitters, struck out 11 of them. Just absolutely tremendous. 1 solo home run was the one blip. That was over 6 innings. I like him again here. I mean, you're talking about another spot righty on Rockies on the road against a righty. And I didn't love Gausman going into that one just because I like this Athletics team this year. Obviously, that's a monster performance, but you got to like him to have a pretty high scoring day and compete for one of the top spots of the day. 2.82 implied total says a lot for the Colorado Rockies today. 4.82 on the other side for the Blue Jays. They're going up against Kyle Freeland. Definitely a targetable spot there. Lower end starter. Gave up just a pair of earned runs. Only went 4 1/3 in his first start, but definitely targetable with some of those quality Blue Jays bats and one of the highest implied totals on the slate. If we're looking up and down, it really does reflect the quality of the pitching on this slate, though, with many of these teams being at their number one starter. Only 1 team over 5, only 2 teams into the 4.8s, and only a handful, only 2 others even above, or 1 other even above 4.5. So this is a pitching-oriented slate for sure. You've got 2 juicy spots right there, though. White Sox and the Marlins. Shane Smith, Sandy Alcantara. Kind of interesting. Sandy shine in his first game. Struck out 5, walked 2. Typical Sandy Alcantara start. We talked about it that day, and we will continue to talk about it. When you get the depth is when you get good Sandy upside. He needs 7 innings to give you even 5 strikeouts usually. That's where his quality comes from typically, is his ability to just book 7 innings. He did it the first time out. Love his opportunity to do it here against this improving but still lower end White Sox lineup. 3.44 implied total for them. Marlins coming in with a 4.17, getting a little bit of love. I don't dislike the upside against Shane Smith. He only lasted an inning and 2/3 in his first start, faced 11 hitters, gave up 3 earned, struck out 2, walked 2. Mets and the Cards, a 4.23 implied total for the Mets, just a 3.37 on the Card side. That young lineup going up against Freddie Peralta. Freddie wasn't great, gave up 4 earned, but struck out 7, 2 home runs, kind of burnt him over 5 innings in that first start. Matthew Liberatore making his second start of the season. We do like the lefty, but he's a low strikeout pitcher until further notice. We might see an uptick going into the season, but he had a tremendous spring. A lot of rumors of a potential uptick, but in the first game only struck out 2. So we'll have to see where it goes. Just going up against a tremendous Mets team. He's on my bench in the Dynasty League this week. Just don't like this spot for him. 4.23 implied total. Wouldn't stun me if he had a okay, somewhat effective 6 innings, but a high strikeout, big total type of a game against this pitching slate is pretty unlikely, even at a cheap price. Drew Rasmussen against Jacob Misiorowski. Misiorowski was fantastic in his first start of the season. 5 innings, faced 20 hitters. He struck out 11 of them, matched that Kevin Gausman total. Drew Rasmussen, on the other hand, only a pair of strikeouts in his 5 innings. That was give up 1 earned run, 4 hits. Not a bad start, but also not a high-quality DFS outing. Obviously, you get a lot more upside out of Jacob Misiorowski. 3.22 implied total, one of the lower marks of the day on the Rays side. Just a 3.87 for the Brewers. They continue to be an interesting bunch as far as scoring runs, getting on base, doing their thing. Rasmussen, not entirely targetable, but definitely a pitcher that you can throw some bats at here and there and use them as a supporting stack at worst. Red Sox and the Astros, 3.85 implied total for the Bo Sox, just 3.24 implied for the Astros. We've got Garrett Crochet against Mike Burrows. Burrows making his second start. Went 5 2/3, kind of ugly though. Gave up 5 earned, struck out 6, walked 2, pair of home runs allowed in the first one. Looking for a little bit more upside. This is a pitcher we like long term. We'll see how long it takes him to get into shape for the season. Not a cakewalk against those Red Sox, but not a killer total either. Keeping them under 4 implied runs. And then Crochet, just one of the best starters in the league, full stop. Struck out 8 over 6 innings. Nice to see the 6 innings right out of the gate. One thing we worry about is long-term health of that elbow, but it's not going to crop up, knock on wood, today. So fire away with the Crochet shares. Houston off to a great start for the season. They had another high-scoring game last night. A lot of bats we like, a lot of upside in that lineup, and ability to limit the strikeouts. So it's not a safe spot for Garrett Crochet, but he's tremendous just on his own in any situation. Yusei Kikuchi against Matt Boyd, dueling lefties. We like Boyd a little bit better than Kikuchi, but I don't fully trust Matt Boyd. He didn't have a good one in the first start either. We talked about him that day as far as not really liking him, not wanting to get to him. 3 2/3, gave up 6 earned runs. Kikuchi gave up a pair of earned runs, but 8 hits. Typical Kikuchi start. Struck out 3, walked 1 over 4 1/3. Just, bumpy. Always a bumpy ride. If we're not getting depth there, I'm not really into it. And I don't love taking on this Cubs lineup, but I do like that pitching environment. Just a 6.5 run total, sub 3 implied for the Angels. 3.65 Angels. Those key bats showing a little bit of power, but not like it was against Jameson Taillon yesterday. So you get a little more diminishment in that game. Then we get to the 3 that are only on the FanDuel slate. The Tigers against the Diamondbacks. That's another key spot. I like the offense on the Tigers. We get the home run pick of the day is actually coming out of that game. I didn't have the foresight to make it from one of the games that's on both slates. Sorry about that, DraftKings players. I just now realized that. It's Kerry Carpenter. 4-5, you can go still bet the prop. 2 days in a row, by the way. How about Willy Adames right out of the gate yesterday? Home run pick came through. 4.55 implied total for the Tigers going up against the D-backs. The Tigers have Tarek Skubal on the mound, so obviously we're firing away with the best pitcher in baseball. Kid is just unreal. 6 strikeouts, 1 unearned run on 3 hits, faced 22 hitters in the first one, went 6 innings, 6, 7, whatever he needs. Plenty of upside there. 3.63 implied total on the Diamondback side. And then Zach Gallen on the bump for the Diamondbacks. been up and down throughout the career, been a little bit ugly first game this season. Not that we're judging anything by these first starts, by the way. It's just to kind of put depth on the board that I'm even mentioning them. But Gallen is targetable enough. I like the left-handed power in that Tigers lineup, and we just talked about them enough already. There's a lot of quality up and down in that Tigers lineup. So we'll be going there periodically, and this looks like a killer spot for them, especially late on that FanDuel slate. Yanks and Mariners, another pitching duel, 3.49 implied total for the Yankees, 3.60 implied for the Mariners. It's Cam Schlittler, it's George Kirby. Prefer Kirby by a little bit. Schlittler looked great in that first outing, though. He struck out 8, 5 1/3, 17. He faced 17 hitters, only give up 1 hit. Kirby only gave up 1 earned run over 6 innings. He only gave up 2 hits in his game, struck out 6. So we'll see where that how the head-to-head goes here. But both solid upside pitchers. I think you can go in either direction. It's just kind of like it was yesterday. I'd slightly rather face that Mariners lineup than have to face the Yankees lineup, but I would lean Kirby a little bit between the two pitchers as far as talent. So it kind of breaks even. I don't know that you necessarily need to go to anything from that game. You do have a nice looking spot with that 4.43 implied total at the very end of the slate here. That's the Padres going up against Adrian Hauser. As mentioned, he's making his first start of the season, did make 3 spring starts, got out to 6 innings in his last one, 5 innings to start before that. So presumably fully stretched out. It's not going to get him very far, I wouldn't think, though. It's a okay Padres lineup and plenty of pieces that you can use for DFS purposes, so not a bad way to end the slate there. And then they have Nick Pivetta on the mound, who actually looks pretty decent going up against the Giants for a fair price. A lot of talking. Agreed, Remy. A lot of good pitching today. We're going to take a look at it right here. So this is broken all over the place. You just got to pay attention to where the zeros are, where the blanks are for who's on which slates. Nothing I can really do about it, unfortunately, when it's broken up into 2 different chunks like this. Tarek Skubal, top of your board here. And by the way, obviously these will apply on DraftKings if you're playing one of the smaller slates on either side of this. Skubal, just top of your board. He's always going to be at the top of your board. But Chris Sale, not far separated from him. Obviously separated by sites and by slates. So Chris Sale, the top of your board on DraftKings, but not a lot of separation between him and your next guy down, Garrett Crochet. And there's also not a lot of separation between Crochet and Skubal at the top of the board on FanDuel. A lot of lefty quality at the very top of the board between those 3. Paul Skeens, a minor tick behind. I would say probably we're blaming the ballpark there. Maybe a slightly lower end, slightly lesser of a ceiling sometimes, but tremendous option. You get him at 95 on DraftKings, right in line, but slightly cheaper than Chris Sale, than Garrett Crochet, if we're calling it a slightly lower ceiling. Nathan Eovaldi at 88. Gotta like that quality going up against that Orioles lineup. They do have some frisky bats there. On the other side of that game at 8,200, Trevor Rogers, you can fire right back the other direction. Either side of that, ultimately, I'd probably rather take on the Rangers lineup, but I'd probably rather have Eovaldi in terms of the quality of those 2 pitchers and the guy I actually believe in more. Love Chris Sanchez in any situation. By the way, there is just no daylight whatsoever between basically all of these guys right here. All those guys are ranking the same. Again, these 3 aren't on that slate. These 3 are on this slate, so you got to go back and forth. But there's a lot of same among these aces up at the top. So you can play the price game. You can play the who do I think is going to be the most highly owned game as well. But yeah, Sanchez against the Nationals, 10-8, 9,200, fire away. Fantastic spot for one of the best pitchers in the game. Another high quality lefty. Love Sandy. Long as I can be confident that we're going 7 and fall's going well, and against that White Sox team, there's no reason to think that it wouldn't, especially at 8,000 on DraftKings. Feels awfully cheap. 9,000 on FanDuel is totally workable for a guy that I can confidently say has a shot at a quality start. Freddie Peralta, like the upside, 8,500, 8,700 going up against all those kids. Plenty of strikeout stuff. Perfectly fine. Kevin Gausman, if we resort by FanDuel, actually, sorry. It changed slightly after the last time I sorted it. So Gausman's there. Just a slight reordering of some of those options. Gausman slides up the board a little bit as he should. 9,800, 9,000. Pretty solid option against those Rockies. That is a potentially tremendous spot. But again, I do think that one's going to get pretty popular, especially by comparison to everybody's going to want Chris Sale for 700 less. People will probably default to Gausman and just say, all right, I'll leave Sale sitting there. So going up the board, paying up to differentiate for those pitchers, not that they're going to be unowned by any means. They'll be popular, but they might be less popular than that slightly less expensive Gausman spot against that low end Rockies lineup. Freddie again looks pretty tremendous. Rogers we already touched on. Nick Pivetta against the Giants at 7,800 on FanDuel. That's a really interesting discount option. That is a very high quality pitcher. Had a bumpy first one, but I think we can forgive him that. And it's a targetable enough lineup. We'll like that Giants lineup on and off, but we'll also be able to target him with good pitching, especially when it comes in at a price like that. My hope is the field doesn't necessarily notice with all the high quality options. Talked about Sandy already. Miz, love him. 92, 85. That DraftKings price is great. Absolutely grab that. He could definitely have a day against that Rays team. That said, there is some quality at the top of that Rays lineup, but they thin out really quickly, somewhere around 4 in the lineup, depending on who's there. Kirby, 95 against the Yanks. I don't love the price. Projects out a little bit lesser than some of the aces, despite being of the same quality as a Kevin Gausman, a Freddie Peralta, certainly a Nathan Eovaldi, if not the higher end guys. Playable, but not a great option against the Yankees. Matthew Boyd, given the pitching environment in Wrigley today, absolutely can go there. There's plenty of strikeout in that Angels lineup to target with him. It's just a pitcher I don't fully trust, don't fully love, but that is all baked into the 7,400, the 7,300. I imagine that's going to be a very popular SP2. Gallen, mix and match. I'd rather have the Tigers bats. Kikuchi, again, it's just about he gives us upside on his own from time to time, but we know that he's such a high danger starter that you don't usually want him. But that pitching environment today makes him at least intriguing for the 6,700 for the cheap SP2 on DraftKings. 7,200, you're probably just playing with fire for a price you can match elsewhere. I'd much rather have $7,800 Nick Pivetta in that spot. Drew Rasmussen, cheap on DraftKings, mix and matchy kind of quality. Probably wouldn't take Andrew Abbott shares for 75 against I think, decent enough Pittsburgh lineup, and I just don't like that bandbox. He projects out slightly more than Schlittler and Burrows. I think I'd probably rather have either of them, but I'd probably take Andrew Abbott ahead of Shane Smith, Matthew Liberatore in the bottom of the board here. This minor playability down there. I do have a little faith in Liberatore, but I don't like targeting that Mets lineup. 61, if you need to throw the dart there, he's probably your best option. Shane Smith against Miami, you could maybe make the argument, but lower end pitcher overall, and that Miami lineup is frisky. They're not the Mets by any means, but I think Liberatore is the slightly better pitcher there. I don't love Severino. Cavalli's a target. Hauser more so, and Kyle Freeland the biggest target on the slate. All right. Doing okay on time through that whole windup. Pop back into chat in a second. See if you guys have calmed down the naysayers, the ne'er-do-wells. Oh my God. Vito's back too. Wow, they're ganging up. What's Vito got to say? He got fired for overanalyzing. Yes, that's what all the sites hate, is people who analyze too much and too well. Remy says, turns out if you just block Vito, the YouTube chat is perfectly fine. Love the arguments. Just scams people. Yes, Jason Bailey. For all the money I'm asking you for right now, I'm a known scammer. Where did you guys come from? I love this. I agree, ADT. A lot of weirdos in chat this morning. You would just think that there would be a better show to go troll. You're probably just banned from everywhere else. Whatever. Enjoy. Could be sleeping right now, and I'm sitting here doing this, and they're saying, oh, you're scamming people doing this for free. Anyway, 332 implied total for those A's. You're going up against Chris Sale. There's very little reason to get to the A's. If you want to get contrarian, you can get there. We do like getting to high-quality lineups when we're being contrarian. If you're on DraftKings, Andy Ibanez in the 2-hole for 2,000 does give you a little bit of a ability to average down some pricing, but you're dealing with a version of this lineup that's Jacob Wilson, Andy Ibanez, Shea Langoliers, and Brent Rooker. Obviously, tremendous upside against anybody, and there's a lefty-righty component there, but this is a diminished version of the A's against one of the best pitchers in baseball, even for contrarian reasons. It's not the version of the A's lineup that you would want to get to. If you're grabbing a two-man around Shea Langoliers and Brent Rooker, fine, but those are the two A's that everybody is going to be taking. So don't love it. If you wanted to talk about what the actual average down price is, if you wanted to just top slice it there, you're paying $37.80 a piece for them. Very cheap to get to the key hitters in that lineup, but there's not a ton of support around them these days today. So I don't like targeting Chris Sale here, and I really struggle to make the argument to do it. 99 for him on DraftKings. Absolutely grab that option. Fire away. In support of him, Brave stack looking pretty solid. Again, going up against Sevy, 17.6% strikeout rate last season. Does still rate out very strong in terms of stuff plus, but most of it really comes from just the wipeout slider. Below average across the other pitches. So, there's not really a ton to cling to as far as Sevy finding too much upside. Here and there, he'll have decent starts, but the strikeouts are mostly gone. The swinging strikes are basically entirely gone. More than 4.5 runs across all three of those last season. Just not a lot to point to. Braves lineup's too good. Ronnie Acuna in the leadoff spot for 59. Under 6, consider it a bargain. 21 homers last year in a partial season, 412 plate appearances. Definitely monster upside, superstar caliber. We just hope he stays in the lineup. Drake Baldwin at 4,300 remains cheap despite a pretty decent start to his season. Just one of the better catcher bats in baseball right now. And for the foreseeable future, that is very, very affordable for a catcher hitting second. Matt Olson for only 49. You can get Matt Olson for under 5,000 against Luis Severino. Monster spot, 10.23 in the home run model. Austin Riley, 10.66 right behind him. 12.63 for Ronnie Acuna. So 3 of your top 4 hitters in the Braves lineup above the magic number in the home run model. Tons of power showing here. Love the upside for Atlanta. Yaz at 4,000, not a bad option. 6.36. There is a little lefty pop in that bat. He had 17 long balls last year. Got on at a 333 clip as well. 329 ex-Wobo, 106 WRC plus. Good, not great player, but he only cost 4,000. Has always hit the ball squarely. The barrels did drop last year, 10.5% down to 8% barrel rate, but definitely playable upside from the left side of the plate. Albies and Harris, underperformers the last couple of seasons, but former stars. Still got a 2020 year out of Harris. We've talked about that. Ozzie Albies, there's always a little bit of upside for home run, stolen base quality there too. 41, 39, all of the underperformance in recent seasons is kind of priced in. You just kind of ride with it. You hope for those counting stats to come through for you. You hope for the throwback days. Those players are not shot. They've just been kind of lost in the weeds. Dom Smith, Mauricio Dubon, mix and match components down the bottom of the lineup. Smith hits for a little bit of average, 3,600, fine, but I'd rather have Matt Olson basically every time. And Mauricio Dubon, shortstop only, just kind of a movable part in this lineup. So I'm seeing the positions on FanDuel, like, wait, this game's not there. That's why I got this zeroed out, so I can keep that in my brain. So since it's just shortstop only, just kind of a moving part. He's a utility player. This very much goes Chris Sale, Braves bats. Really nothing A's, but I would probably put the bats above Luis Severino. Just because you could get some contrarian upside and maybe you get the big blast out of one of the righties. That's where you focus, and you're just building around them. I know I didn't really go through the lineup. Soderstrom probably overmatched lefty in this spot. 25 home runs last season, 125 WRC plus. I just don't want to target Chris Sale with basically anybody in this lineup. And it's a weaker version. I know they're stacking some righties here, but it's just a weak version. These aren't the righties that you would necessarily want. It's kind of a punt day for the Athletics. In the interest of time, we're going to keep this moving. Ducking says these shows help me a lot. Appreciate you. Liked it better when it was Awesome. I liked it better when it was Awesome too. Vito, who are you? Where did you even come from? Keys fan says, I used to watch you on Stochastic. Curious why you were fired from Stochastic. I was wondering because you were one of the best. Oh, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Disagreements with the those in charge, let's say. particularly as mentioned about that name change. Numerous other things as well in terms of what we disagreed on, but it was entirely behind the scenes stuff that was the reasons. And then after I was gone, they restructured 37 other people out of there for salary reasons and all kinds of bullshit that was going on behind the scenes. I won't get into the why, but if you know anything about the internet website business and how people make money in that business, you know what the restructuring was ultimately gaming toward. But anyway, that's their business. Nathan Eovaldi, not a bad option at 8,800 against a gettable Orioles lineup. I like the power of the Orioles. I ultimately think, we have a quality season here in terms of offensive output. They added Pete Alonso to this lineup. There's plenty of quality here. Tyler O'Neill in a fully healthy season. I like the upside for home runs, maybe some stolen bases come back from him. They added Taylor Ward to this too. There's a lot of righty power there. So there's quality here. But Eovaldi's very, very good when he's on. He only costs 8,800. That's a little bit cheaper than the very top of the board. And the Orioles, we've all had them on those just light days for whatever reason it is. A lot of guys, there's nobody super low strikeout rate in this lineup. Everybody average strikeout rate to high strikeout rate. There's nobody, 2 guys last year in double-digit walk rates. There's not a ton of extended on-base quality in this lineup. So that can lead to some days like that, where you get those lower end performances, and Eovaldi is very equipped to find a day like that. Meltdown of a start in the first one, 4 2/3, gave up 5 earned, 2 home runs, 7 strikeouts. The 7 Ks are nice to see. 4 2/3, obviously he's out of that game. That was against the Phillies, out of that game after it got a little bit bumpy, but I like him to get the season back on the right foot here. Projects out as one of the top pitchers of the day on DraftKings at 88. On the other side, Trevor Rogers at 82. Projects out competitively with Eovaldi and the other guys at the top of the board. Again, went 7, faced 27 hitters in his first start of the season, struck out 5, but walked 4. Something to watch there, but only 3 hits. Was tremendous last season in terms of his surface numbers. We talked about this going into that first start. 1.81 ERA, but under the covers, those are full 2 runs higher, 3.64 xFIP, 3.75 Sierra. Those are the real numbers. That's who he really is. Those are the numbers that reflect how he's actually pitching, what's actually in his control, and then the ERA based on good fortune. He does strike out a lot of hitters. Only a 17.5% strikeout minus walk rate, though. 24.3% strikeout minus 6.9% walk. Those are good, not great numbers. Gives up a lot of hard hit on a medium trajectory, just 7.6% barrel rate was life-saving for him. 1.42% home run. Little bit lucky, probably, given some of the premium contact that's in here in terms of those home runs. Against a Rangers lineup that's mediocre at best. They win some games, but I don't know. I think it's a targetable lineup. 4.31 implied total, 4.41 on the other side. Both teams squarely in the middle of the board in terms of runs today. But both these pitchers probably more appealing than either of these lineups. I do think it's a 4 corners kind of a game, though. Nimmo leading off in the projected version of the Rangers. I'm sure we have confirmed. Yeah, we have confirmed Rangers. Got to remember to keep checking the lineups page. We don't have the other one yet. So Nimmo in the leadoff spot confirmed. Again, we've talked about it a little bit. The on-base has slipped somewhat over the last couple of years. 25 home runs. That is a quality left-handed bat, but lefty spot here. I don't love leading off with Nimmo, 4,400. I'm not going to take the time to look at his numbers against lefties last season, but that is a player who can put good wood on the ball. Ahead of Wyatt Langford for 45. Not a bad option, not a bad pairing. And 4,400 for Corey Seager is a downright cheap price against anybody. 21 home runs out of Seager last season, but a 15.3% barrel, 53.6% hard hit. Had a 365 WOBA and a 400 xWOBA, one of the top marks in the entire league. Love Corey Seager to come roaring back in terms of just the full slash line, the full power and everything over a full season this year. Jake Berger, 16 home runs last season in basically a half season. 324 xWOBA is significantly over that 295 actual mark, but that's still a pretty pedestrian, pretty much league average type of a WOBA. Just an 89 WRC plus. Tremendously diminished season last year. Still made great contact though. 13.9% barrel, 48.5% barrels. Andrew McCutchen, veteran, can still get on base. can drive the ball occasionally, only 13 home runs last year, but still got on at a 333 clip. There's still upside there any given slate, especially as a correlation piece, and he's not expensive, 3,200. Danny Jansen can hit the long ball a little bit. 14 home runs in 337 plate appearances last year. Not bad. Mix and match catcher at worst. Josh Young, Ezekiel Duran, and Sam Haggerty down the bottom of the lineup. Mix and match pieces all. You did get 14 home runs out of Young last season. We've seen quality out of that player. Got to improve on that 294 on base from last year to go anywhere, but only 2,800 to fill third base as your fifth man in. It's not a bad option from the back end of the Rangers stack, but again, probably prefer pitching in this one. On the Orioles side, if you're looking to target Eovaldi, again, I mentioned the several of the acquisitions and some of the upside for power here. A lot of it comes on the right side. Taylor Ward, Pete Alonso, Tyler O'Neill, all right-handed. Ryan Mountcastle, another right-handed bat. We'll see if his power ever comes back. Probably doesn't. Only 7 home runs in 357 plate appearances last year and has been severely diminished over the last few. He's down to 2,200, but doubles up position with Pete Alonso, so that's unfortunate. Gunnar Henderson, big lefty pop. 5,400. He was down to just 17 home runs in a diminished season last year. Still stole 30 bases. Had tremendous overall numbers, including a 120 WRC plus. Still had a solid 49% hard hit rate, but that was down a few percentage points year over year. The barrels were way down, 11.2, 11.4 the 2 years prior, down to 8.5. Problematic dip in the barrel rate last season for Gunnar, but star caliber talent that we love to come roaring back in form this year. 17 homers last year, 37 the year before. Lost 20 somewhere in there. I like him to get at least a chunk of those back, especially with the improvements around him in the lineup. Alonso, monster season last year, 38 home runs in his last season in the Mets uniform, 272, 347, 524, career runs 41% better than average. He was a beast. 5,300, not a terrible price, especially when you can average it down with some of the pieces around him. Sammy Basayo, 3,100, 8.9% barrel, 43% hard hit, and 118 plate appearances that otherwise went pretty much nowhere last year, but an upside piece that's hitting in the middle of the lineup in this projected version today. Tyler O'Neill, again, tremendous power from the right side. Failed to hit his weight last season, 199, 292, 392 over 209 plate appearances, but has 30 home run power in a full season of health. Colton Cowser, major power upside from the other side of the plate, another big lefty bat. 3,000, pretty cheap price. He only hit 16 home runs and stole 14 bases in 360 plate appearances last year. Year before, 24 home runs and a little bit of a breakout. Had a 204 ISO, had a 120 WRC plus. Don't sleep on Colton Cowser if you're considering Orioles. Kobe Mayo and Blaze Alexander, upside pieces, both double-digit barrel rates last season. Didn't really do much with them. 11 home runs in 294 for Kobe Mayo, 7 in 266 plate appearances for Blaze. Both guys below average WRC plus. Not by a tremendous margin, but 5 points and a point below average. Let's go with Eovaldi, Rogers, Rangers, Orioles in that order. Buildable lineups, though, again, but would rather have the pitching. Sam, I have not looked at any prop bets for today. I've been dug into here. If you want to, if you've got some in mind, you want to throw them out to the crowd. If I spot them, I'll certainly try and weigh in. But this is mostly focused on DFS, and certainly today I just haven't had a chance to look at anything really. What you can try and pick off along the way is in this column right here is the home run number, right? That's the home run model. And anybody over 10, the 10 is the magic number. But like obviously these 9s are pretty decent. But anybody over 10, pretty good chance. So if you see one of those at long odds, those are decent spots to pick off home run props, just to throw that into the mix. Anybody projected for like a monster projection, presumably you can assume comes with some strikeout upside. All right, game 3 of the DraftKings slate. I got to accelerate this thing. So again, I don't love this ballpark. Never really like taking pitching in this ballpark, but Paul Skeens is a different animal entirely. You can completely write off that start from the other day. He wasn't broken in that start. He was a little bit erratic in terms of locating early, in terms of getting the stuff to totally do what he wanted to early, but it was mostly just some luck, some dink and dunk stuff from the Mets, and then those 2 big misplays by O'Neill Cruz in center field. You run that game back 1,000 times, and that inning doesn't happen that way. So Fire away with Paul Skeens. Until further notice, there is no issue here. 9,500, you're getting a little bit of a discount to do it. And you're taking on the Reds. There are plenty of strikeouts. 25.1% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup last season. 22.3% against righties, but there are plenty of strikeouts up and down this lineup. So it's Paul Skeens. I don't think we need to overthink it. Andrew Abbott on the other side, pitched to a 21.8% strikeout last season. Below average stuff. 2.87 ERA, but another guy who is completely defied by the XFIP, by the Sierra, the true predictors of future ERA. So just dramatic overperformance out of Abbott last season. One pitch that kind of shines, the rest kind of below average. Decent locator, but I don't like the upside really. I think he's loosely playable in spots. 75 is an inoffensive price. And again, even the improved version of these Pirates, not untargetable. But I'll let the ballpark be the deciding factor here. I don't think we need to go to Andrew Abbott, especially with the Pirates pulling a better than 4 implied total. Let somebody else make that mistake. Jake Mangum is nobody's idea of dynamite in the leadoff role, but he did have a good season last year. 428 plate appearances. As we talked about throughout last season, he is not a up-and-comer. I believe he's 31 now. I think he was 30 playing last season. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly. Mediocre numbers overall, only 3 home runs. He did steal 27 bases, but a 95 WRC plus in a quote-unquote breakout season. You can see 307 weighted on base. That's pretty significantly below average, and his 276 xwOBA is way, way further below average, and that's what he should have been doing. So really don't love that option. That was not one of the big improvements. Decent defensive outfielder, so that does help, I guess. Nick Gonzalez in the 2 spot, 2,900. Mix and match piece in your infield, 260, 299, 362. Up and down in the lineup facing the lefty. Brian Reynolds from the right side, 4,200. Hit 16 home runs in a down season last year. A lot of upside potential for Brian Reynolds. Hits the ball very hard. Definitely one of the star players in this lineup. One of your key pieces if you're going to Pirates bats. I like O'Neal Cruz in the 5 spot, hitting after Marcell Ozuna here. Ozuna for just 3,000 is also very, very interesting against the lefty. A lot of power lurking there. 21 home runs last year in a major, major downturn, but a 354 xwOBA under that 334 wOBA. Still had an 11.4% barrel. It was a big dip for him, but that's still a quality barrel rate. So there's lurking power. I like the upside for Marcell Ozuna, 9.21 in your home run model today. O'Neal Cruz still does lead the team, 9.46 in the home run model today, but takes a dip against the lefty. That said, 4,700, monster source of power. They chase Abbott, you get a righty out of the pen, and O'Neal could take it deep. So I like the upside there. You also get stolen base potential if he's on. He stole 38 bags last year. Nick York, Jared Triolo, Spencer Harwitz, and Henry Davis going down the board here. Henry Davis, a lot of barrel potential out of him. There is some power lurking in Henry Davis as well. Cheap catcher option as well on DraftKings, 2,300. And Spencer Harwitz wields a pretty good hit tool. Hit the ball squarely last year, 272, 353, 434. Underrated 411 plate appearances. 344 wOBA, but you do have to point out the 326 xwOBA says he overperformed his talent a little bit. 119 WRC plus, though, was the highest in this lineup last year. On the red side, TJ Friedl, a decent option, mid-board type, 12, 15 home run type hitter. Similar numbers for stolen bases, some run scoring potential. Phil's counting stats across the board. Not a bad option in the leadoff role. Got on at a 364 clip last year. Putting him ahead of Matt McClain makes a ton of sense. Ellie De La Cruz, Sal Stewart, all the power that those players bring to bear. 15 homers, 18 steals in a down season from McClain. Had a rip-roaring spring. Not sure where he's at to start the year. I could reveal that I've got that hidden here now. I popped it into the thing when I was bored at like 6 o'clock this morning. So McClain, slow start after his hot spring, is getting on at a 435 clip over his 23 plate appearances so far. Like the upside there, though. Ellie is a superstar, fills categories across the board, 5,700, not a problem. Sal Stewart for just 4,000 first base and third base eligibility, which is good because there's 3 other first basemen in this lineup and a third baseman. Stewart, tons of power upside. I like that premium contact. I like that option to click in for a fairly cheap price, but you're going against Paul Skeens if you're taking anybody from this team. I don't know that we really want to do that. Then you get to Nathaniel Lowe, played his way out of Texas, 2,600. There is potential for hard hits there, but a lot of his quality's just been eradicated over the last couple of years. I'm not really sure what happened. Down to a 301 wOBA and a 303 xwOBA that tells us there's not much hope for it to come back. Spencer Steer, mix and match piece. Will Benson, tons of power and premium contact. Very inconsistent player, a lot of strikeouts, probably going to be a victim of 3 Paul Skeens strikeouts when it's all said and done today. Tyler Stevenson, another catcher with some premium contact upside. That said, I'd probably rather take on some other pitcher for a lower price than pay $3,600 to get to Tyler Stevenson from the 8-hole against Paul Skeens here. Brian Hayes, mix and match piece, has never really found the performance, the stats to go with the hard hit rates that he's always put up. This definitely goes Skeens, Pirates, Abbott, Reds. Let me take a moment here while we're doing this. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen, last day to take advantage. Now I am selling some. Last day to take advantage of the promo code OD26 and get behind the scenes at Rotoscouts for a $4 first week on a weekly, or a $15 first month on a monthly. Apparently, I can't do a promo and paste this stuff in at the same time, so you're going to have to bear with me. This is me trying to do a show and keep the site updated at the same time, which is not going to go well. All right, the Rangers and the Orioles. Hang out, talk amongst yourselves for a moment. This won't take long. One of these days, I'll build a better mechanism to copy this data across to these sheets. A bunch of other confirmed lineups just came in too. The Orioles, you're up. Still no Orioles that I see. All right. I'm going to save this version so people can get to those early ones. Hang on. Stupid timestamps. All right. 10:48 in the a.m. We're through 3 games. We are now clicking into the 7 games that are on both slates. And we'll start updating those lineups in just a minute as we start talking them through. And we obviously have to pick up the pace because DraftKings starts in a little over an hour. Not great. All right, Nationals, Cade Cavalli coming in, going up against Chrissy Sanchez. We love Chris Sanchez around here. Primo pitcher, one of the top lefties in baseball, one of the top pitchers overall in the game. Love the opportunity for him to just shut this team down. Great option on both sides, especially 9,200 as compared to some of the other premium pitchers on this slate. Matchup-wise, everything about this spot screams play Chris Sanchez at 9,200. You might even get him at a little bit of an ownership reduction from where he ought to be, just given the depth of the slate, the quality of the pitching available. So all systems go for everything Chris Sanchez. I forget which lineup I copied first. I think it was the Phillies. It was. Good guess. On the other side, I think we're looking at more of a target with Cade Cavalli. Cavalli, a little bit buzzy through the spring. Came out in the first one, faced 17 hitters over 3 2/3, gave up 3 runs, 2 of them earned, struck out 5, walked 3. Again, nothing predictive about that, but last season, 48 2/3 over 10 starts, only an 18.3% strikeout rate. You can see that the stuff pops a little bit, though. 3 above average pitches, averages out to a 108 for the full arsenal. Not bad. Just hasn't necessarily put it all together. 4.25 ERA, but did have a 3.90 xFIP underneath that, a 4.08 Sierra. So slight room for improvement from where he was last year. 6,200, 6,900. I just don't want to take on the Phillies with the leading total on the slate. They'll be popular as a stack, but you can see every reason in the world to get there. And I think we can mix and match our way through this lineup and get to some lower owned combinations. So all things Phillies in this one. Nationals bats, if you're going in that direction, probably a misguided idea. Not only is Chris Sanchez great and improving in terms of just being a run limiter, finding some strikeouts at a 25.9% last year with no problems with walks. He keeps the ball down extremely effectively. 2.8 degree average launch angle last year, 1.52% home run rate. This is a dynamite pitcher that you do not want to target. But James Wood should be a big part of your plans if you're going to, even a lefty. 31 homers, 15 stolen bases, their best player, full stop. Curtis Mead in this lineup now, 2,200, got DFA'd from his last gig. He's bounced around a little bit, probably one of his last opportunities to actually prove any of that prospect pedigree was ever real. Don't love it. Righty, though, you get a little upside out of that maybe. He's very, very cheap, but it has never really come together at the major league level for Curtis Mead. Brady House for 3,026. No, thank you. 234, 252, 322. Ouch, 56 WRC plus last year. Why not have him hitting third? Dalen Lyle, 3,800, 2,900. Solid slash line last season, a 132 WRC plus, probably their second best player overall last year. CJ Abrams backslid a little bit down to 107 WRC plus. Also, was going to suffer from the lefty here. Joey Weimer in between those guys. One of the best starts in baseball history. Was like, what was it, 10 for his first 10 or on base the first 10 times he came to the plate, whatever it was. It was outrageous. Now he's at 615, 706, 1231 over 17 plate appearances. Pretty good. 2 homers on the board already. Not a bad start to the season for a guy who was a washout that we were kind of laughing was even in baseball just a week ago. Abrams, again, mix and match quality here. Again, I think sliding down the lineup for the lefty, but one of their better players, 19 homers, 31 stolen bases. You're not going to Nationals and leaving CJ on the board. Nasim Nunez, stellar defense, interesting young player, 9 stolen bases last season in 92 plate appearances. You can see 232, 297. The hit tool is very much in question. He's always been able to get on base. Always drew a bunch of walks throughout his minor league career, but major questions about the hit tool. No power to speak of whatsoever, but 40 stolen base upside in the long term and stellar defense. So as long as he's in the lineup and he's a switch hitter, multi-position eligible in the infield for a cheap price, he's at least an interesting bolt-on. And you think about him maybe as kind of a wraparound. You kind of wish he was hitting 9th instead of 7th for that, though. Jacob Young, Drew Millis, mix and match pieces from the bottom. Young stole 15 bases last year. On the Phillies side, again, lineup we really want to get to today. Trey Turner, star caliber shortstop from the top spot, only hit 15 home runs, stole 36 bases last year, created runs 25% better than average. Got on at a solid clip when hitting ahead of Kyle Schwarber, supports the lineup when Kyle Schwarber leads off. 42 for Schwarb's 56 home runs last season, got on at a 365 clip. Just one of the best overall players in baseball. Monster power, excellent ability to get on base, create runs. 391 WOBA, 402 xWOBA. Technically underperformed last season in putting up that 152 WRC plus. A beast in any form. Bryce Harper, maybe arguably a little bit diminished from peak Bryce Harper, but that still equals a player who had a 131 WRC plus last year, had a 368 xWOBA under his excellent surface numbers, 27 home runs. You're nitpicking if you're saying anything bad about Bryce Harper. It brings the price down a little bit. 5,000, 3,500. There's nothing to complain about there. Alec Boehm, tremendous upside bat. 287, 331, 409. Already an excellent hit tool. Very solid ability to get on base. Good line drive hitter who has hit 20 home runs in the past. I like the upside. If he finds a little bit more launch angle along the way, we've talked about this before. That is an upside piece for a little bit of sneaky power. Doesn't strike out, puts a ton of well-struck balls in play. Really like Alec Boehm just repeatedly in the cleanup spot. 3,200 is a nice price too. Third base, first base on FanDuel. Third base only at 41 also works on DK. Bryson Stott, 38.29, movable part for midboard type home runs, midboard type stolen bases. More upside for steals, run scoring, correlated scoring, but solid in front of Adolis Garcia, Brandon Marsh, JT Realmuto. If you're going down the board and building a middle down type of a stack, those guys get awfully cheap for the talent that's down there. Adolis went deep for the first time for this team last night, 3,300, 2,800. Not too far removed from multiple seasons in a row of 30 home runs or more. So full health this year, getting a full opportunity to play every day in right field. Love the upside for Adolis, especially at these prices. Brandon Marsh, JT Realmuto. Marsh hits the ball extremely hard. The results never fully come through. The slash line's always a little bit better than the power upside. 11 home runs in 425 plate appearances last year, but a tremendous slash. 330 xWOB under a 339 actual, 116 WRC plus. Difficult to argue with for 3,000. And again, solid mid-upper 40s hard hit rates each of the last 3 seasons. Realmuto's coming back down the other side of the mountain, but still does hit the ball with quality. a dozen home runs and 550 plate appearances last year, just a 94 WRC plus. You're just looking for that one big batted ball event, and he's only 3,500 to slot in at catcher where it's required. 27, he's a little bit lesser of an option on the FanDuel slate, I would say. And then their big prospect, Justin Crawford, 25-24. Kind of a start is he off to? 3 runs on the board. He's getting on at a 385 clip over his first 13 major league plate appearances. Major prospect for them, though, so a lot of upside there at only 2,500. Kind of an interesting piece. Lefty, throw him at Cavalli here. Maybe use him as a wraparound. Not a bad option. Marsh is also interesting for his ability to get on base from down there. Chris Sanchez, Phillies bats, Sanchez, either order. Probably Cavalli over the Nationals bats. I really don't like the look of the Nationals bats today. Just with his ability to suppress home run upside, look at what he's doing to those home run marks. It's just not a good spot, even from a contrarian sense. Speaking of not good spots, even from a contrarian sense, I give you the Colorado Rockies, ladies and gentlemen. Going up against Kevin Gausman, who I might have naysayed a little bit too much going into the last game. Had a tremendous start. Struck out 11. Just an absolute monster day. Didn't love that one. Again, just didn't say he was bad or anything, but just wasn't excited about him in that spot. Definitely excited about him today, but I think he's going to be very, very popular on this slate, given this opponent. So just something to watch there. Gonna have to keep on doing this as we go. So Gausman, solid strikeout upside against a lineup that had roughly a 26% strikeout rate as a whole. Something just exploded outside. Roughly a 26% strikeout rate as a whole last year. Definitely another good target for him for Ks. Like the upside, if we can get 6 innings out of him, great. I think 7 could be in the cards if all's going to plan for him. Obviously fully stretched out. So no issues with a whole big chunk of Kevin Gausman here, but know that you're probably building a lot with the field. So just make sure that you're getting a little bit different with at least one of your stacks in those lineups. Get a little bit different with your combinations within your stacks and just get away from the field that way, because this will be a chalky pitcher, but seems like he's going to be worth it. This is a very targetable spot. The Rockies didn't do much to improve a lineup that was one of the worst in baseball, coming in at sub-3 implied total. If you're going toward Colorado, Hunter Goodman's your priority. That's your best power bat in this lineup. 8.36 in the home run model for a guy that's frequently above 10, though. Little diminishment there. Gausman does give up some premium contact, but only a 2.78% home run rate last season. Not a tremendous liability in terms of the home runs. Troy Johnston has a little bit of power, a little bit of premium contact upside from the left side, 2,800, 2,400, first base eligible on FanDuel. Willie Castro, a moving part, but hitting third in this lineup pretty regularly. 11 home runs, 10 stolen bases in a bad year, 92 WRC plus last year. We know he's better than that, but this is nobody's idea of regular on 28 of the teams in baseball. Willie Castro is a nice utility guy to have to move around your infield, your outfield, but if you're using him every single day as your 3-hitter, that's not who he is. 2,500, though, 2,900 hitting third in this lineup. If you're going there, he's very, very playable. Ezekiel Tovar's got a little bit of power, just lacks the consistency that you want. Didn't get on base barely at all last year. 294 on base. Ouch. TJ Rumfield, another player with maybe a little premium contact upside from the left side. We have to see what it develops into. This team doesn't typically succeed with many of their prospects. Jordan Beck, Brett Sullivan, Brenton Doyle, Kyle Caro. Speaking of teams, guys that this team doesn't really succeed with. 16 home runs, 19 stolen bases last year from Beck. Doyle had 15 and 18. Both players in a diminished season, though, 90 WRC plus and an ugly 65 WRC plus. Mix and match all the way down through that. Again, this is a team at a sub-3 implied total that you don't really want to get to. On the other side, though, 4.82 implied for the Blue Jays. Definitely a good offense, one that we're going to want to play in this spot. If you're building a bunch of lineups, tackling Kyle Freeland pretty frequently, not a bad idea. So I think both the Blue Jays bats and their pitcher get pretty popular here. George Springer, we've talked about the upside from last year, monster X-Woe, but underneath that actual says that it was pretty real what he was doing last season. It's just, the age is going to catch up to him, but might not be today and might not be this year at all. Davis Schneider in the 2 spot against a bad lefty. Love the upside there from the righty. A little bit of pop in the bat, 11 home runs in just 227 plate appearances, a 202 ISO last season, 351 weighted on base, but a 323 expected mark underneath that. Something to be concerned about in the long term, but any given slate upside for sure. And up against a bad lefty who's going to be bringing it in pretty flat for him, putting it on a tee for him, that power, that premium contact could certainly come through for a cheap Davis Schneider today. Vladdy Guerrero at 6,000 at 3,800. Fire away. It's Vlad, superstar. Kaz Akamoto off to a good start to his major league career. 4,300, 2,900. That's not a bad option from the right side as well. There's some power there. That is a high quality option that has come in from the NPB. Alejandro Kirk hit 15 home runs, had a very solid season last year. 282, 348, 421, a 116 WRC plus. And then you get Ernie Clement. Move him around a little bit, second and third base eligible over here. 4 positions on FanDuel for a fair price on both sites. Miles Straw is mostly just, little hit tool and some speed. Not really a go-to option. Andres Jimenez, little hit tool, not really getting on base, not really delivering the hit tool at all last season. A little bit of speed when he happens to get on. I think the priority down lineup for the Blue Jays, and I talked about him yesterday, and I'll say it again, Jesus Sanchez for only 3,400 for 2,900 on FanDuel. Monster upside for power from the lefty. Even in a lefty-lefty matchup, if they're going to roll him out there, I'll take him. I will absolutely take that upside, especially they chase Kyle Freeland fairly early in this one. We get shots with Jesus Sanchez against who knows what coming out of the Colorado bullpen. Absolutely sign me up. This is a guy who has absolutely mashed the ball in his batted ball events over the past handful of seasons since he's been in the league. Really cut his strikeout rate by 4 points year over year last year in a sign of growth, and that was something that he really struggled with for a while there. So there has been growth, even in a bad year last year. Love the upside for Jesus Sanchez. He's off to a decent start as well. Kevin Gausman, Blue Jays bats right behind him. Really far behind that, I would say probably neither thing at all. But if you need it, Rockies bats over Kyle Freeland because don't play either one and it doesn't matter. White Sox and the Marlins. Oh, wait. I wanted to go back and grab that other game. Bear with me with this, guys. Sorry. It's just hopefully for the benefit of some of you guys who are using the projections out there to keep them updated. Check out rotoscouts.com. Everything is always under $1 a day. Those prices, by the way, and the promo that's been scrolling across your screen. Promo ends today, but all our prices always under $1 a day and includes everything that hits that website. So you're not talking just baseball. Still got hockey and basketball going on. Projections for those will be up later in the day. I think it's like a 7. No, was it 8-game basketball slate? 7 or 8. I think it's only a 3-game hockey slate, fortunately, in a little bit of a break today. Did we get the Orioles yet? Still no Orioles. Give this version a save and a quick upload. 11:04. I think we clawed back a little bit of time. It's an insane number of clicks that I have to make to deliver these things to you guys every day. It's like, click here, click that, copy this, click that, paste there. Over and over and over and over again. And you have to do it in 2 different spots because you got to upload the table for some reason in a completely different place than the post is created. Like the actual thing that goes on the website. All right. Most of the early games that we've talked about are updated on the site as of now. Keep this thing rolling. Remy, I don't fully trust the AI to not completely just cock up what's going on in the background of the spreadsheet yet. Just too many mistakes out of them anytime I use them. I've got a Gemini account. I use it to write some Python code to help me get some stuff done on the back end, but it's constant hand-holding. Still don't think they're there yet, but appreciate the heads up. Certainly, definitely something I'll look at. I'm keeping an eye on it for sure. Anything that improves If I could take just the stupid arts and crafts, the copy pasting part out of it would be fantastic. This is where we were. Yeah, we talked Rockies. Yeah, White Sox. All right, so White Sox, Marlins. Sandy Alcantara is the piece that we want out of this one. I do think you can get to some maybe White Sox top end as a contrarian option. You know, we've talked about Sandy before. Came back last season, was just okay. In his best years, pre-injury, got all of his quality, and he was very, very good. He was a good run limiter, but got most of his strikeout numbers. His strikeout totals came from depth, not being a 30% strikeout pitcher. Excellent pitcher, but the strikeout is more compiled than it is high percentage. So he's a little bit more gettable than your Chris Sales, your Garrett Crochets of the world. The White Sox, not necessarily the lineup that you want to use to go target a pitcher, but Chase Meadroth, capable enough bat with a good hit tool from the top spot, a little bit of ability to steal a base for only $37.29. He's okay. Solid little mixer. Munetaka Murakami is off to a ridiculous start to his major league career. Excuse me, if you haven't been watching, Murakami over 22 plate appearances, 3 home runs already, getting on at a 409 clip. 409 xWOB under that 499 WOBA so far. Those numbers won't hold, but it's nice to see the kid start out pretty tremendous after a just monumental career in NPB. Still only 26, still growing. I was joking with my friends the other day in our text message group. When I pulled him up, I said, let me look up whether he has a nickname. I never heard a nickname for him. And apparently his nickname in Japan was God. And those are fans that saw Shohei Ohtani play. Just throwing that out there. Kid's good. Andrew Benintendi, mix and match piece at the absolute best. Did hit 20 home runs in a little outburst for power last year. Just not much of a bat. Did have a 103 WRC plus, dead on league average 320 xWOBA. I don't believe in much of it, but he is very cheap. Colson Montgomery is the lefty bat that you really want there if you're going that route. 4,000, 3,000, hit 21 home runs in just 284 plate appearances. Major power upside from the kid. 14.4% barrel rate last season. Miguel Vargas, Tristan Peters, Everson Pereira, Reese McGuire, and Luis Angel Acuna. Mix and match pieces all going down the board. Luis Angel maybe gets us some stolen base upside once the hit tool comes around, the on base comes around a little bit. Miguel Vargas, I know, has had some quality, did hit 16 home runs last year, created runs 1% better than average, 1 point below average, and via xWOBA and a WOBA that was a little bit below that. Shane Smith, I don't think we really want. 22.9% strikeout, but it came with a 9.7% walk. So that's a 13.23 strikeout minus walk. That's a big no thank you. 3.98 ERA, kind of defied by the mid-4s xFIP and Sierra numbers. Just substandard pitcher. Even against the Marlins, they're pulling a 4+ implied total. Their lineup looks decent enough. Jacob Marcy in the top spot, 5 homers, 14 stolen bases, good average, good slash line last season. Creator runs 33% better than average. One of 2 players in this confirmed version of the Marlins lineup that had an above average WRC plus last year. Overall, hit tool focused, a little bit of stolen base upside, some correlated scoring upside. Xavier Edwards kind of gives you the same thing in the 2 spot, so that's not a great combination of hitters up there. And then Otto Lopez is kind of that guy, but also had a little bit more pop in the bat last year with 15 home runs, 15 stolen bases. But you're really mostly dealing with some hit tool oriented players, some on base skill. Otto kind of falls in between, but these are not your typical 1, 2, 3 hitters. Liam Hickson, the cleanup spot at 3,2,600, 6 homers on the board last year, a 98 WRC plus over 390 plate appearances. Sure, he's our cleanup hitter now. Connor Norby at 32.27, 8 home runs, 8 steals in 337 last year. Does have the ability to put bat on ball at least decent levels, 9.4% barrel rate last year. More of a mix and match guy. Owen Casey's interesting, 13.3% barrel rate in a small sample of 27 plate appearances last year. Had a good WBC. A lot of upside there, a lot of prospect pedigree there. Heriberto Hernandez is another player, puts good wood on the ball, 10.9% barrel, 45.4% hard hit in 294 chances last year. Hit 10 home runs, adequate slash line, 118 WRC plus. The other player in this lineup that was a positive contributor last year. Graham Pauley, formerly a lot of prospect pedigree. That was a while ago now. How old's Pauley now? This is what we have to stop and slow down for. Looking up how old Graham Pauley is at the bottom of the lineup. He's still only 25 and a half. Maybe still a little bit of room post-hype type of a player. Just hadn't found it really in the show yet. 4 home runs last year and 90 WRC plus over 184 chances. And Avier Sanoa, not much of a bat down the bottom, 342 pretty empty plate appearances last year with an 86 WRC plus. 2 of the overall worst lineups in baseball At this point, the White Sox top end is probably your best piece in terms of offense, but Sandy's the best pitcher and the guy that you actually want to get to here. So probably not taking too much White Sox out of maybe some cheapo contrarian shares to throw into an abundance of lineup builds. Sandy, definitely priority. 8,000 definitely works on DK. That's a high upside spot. 9,000, fair enough on FanDuel. As long as I can get my 7 innings, I'm okay with that. Sandy, Marlins, White Sox bats, Smith. And really, again, the White Sox, like these two and Montgomery, that's probably it, are probably better than anything in this lineup. But just don't like it going that way. New York Mets, St. Louis Cards, Freddie Peralta, Matthew Liberatore. Again, Liberatore, an okay first start. Just limited in terms of the strikeout. Ended up giving up a few runs. Where did he finish that one again? 1 earned run on a solo homer, but only struck out 2, walked 2, 5 innings, faced 24 hitters, gave up 7 hits along the way. So it dinged his whip a little bit, but didn't get burnt. He didn't have the strikeout upside that we saw in the spring, though. He was striking out spring hitters at an over 30% clip. I don't think he finds that form here against the Mets. As mentioned, I benched him for this week. We'll spot start our Matthew Liberatore shares until he finds that strikeout, if it ever comes. Last year, only 18.8%. I'm not overly optimistic that he ever really finds a tremendous uptick in strikeout. Maybe we get to league average this year. Freddie Peralta, on the other hand, 28.2% last year, well above average strikeout rate, 12.7% swinging strike rate, going up against a young Cardinals team that has a lot of growing to do and plenty of strikeout for Freddie. This looks like a pretty tremendous spot for $8,700, $8,500 Freddie Peralta. A little bit bumpy in his debut start of the season. 4 earned runs, struck out 7, gave up 2 homers. That was against Pittsburgh. Pretty low-end performance for him. That was on the other side of that Paul Skeens game. Like him for redemption almost as much as I like Paul Skeens for some redemption today. So fire away with Freddie. Is a little bit cheaper than your aces, a little bit more lightly projected, but not by a lot. There's not a ton of daylight between him and the second tier of starters. He's not up here necessarily with those guys, but starting with Skeens, he's not far removed. There's only 2 points of daylight between him and Skeens. Eovaldi, Sanchez, Gausman. So he's right in that mix. And in an equally good matchup to the Gausmans of the world. Maybe people don't go as aggressively to Freddie as they do to Kevin Gausman, and Freddie's cheap. Liberatore, again, 6,100 is probably a worthwhile dart here and there on DraftKings as an SP2. 68 on FanDuel, you probably don't need to throw that. You're just not going to get the strikeout upside. And this Mets lineup is just too good. Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, all-stars, superstars off the top. I've talked about the potential for Lindor's power to be down as the season goes on, but I love the upside for extra base hits still. I love the upside for just Francisco Lindor to continue doing Francisco Lindor things all season long. So we're not worried about Lindor. Soto, just one of the best hitters in baseball overall. Bo Bichette, up and down start to his Mets career, but an excellent hit tool, good ability to get on base, mid-board type power, good 3-hitter, a prototype type of a 3-hitter here, and should fill an excellent role hitting between these two and these two, or even these 3 if we want to throw Mark Vientos into that mix. 4 if you believe in Semien at all. I like Jorge Polanco in the middle of this lineup. Switch hitter, only 3,600, 2,900. Hit 26 home runs in an underappreciated year last year. 229 ISO, 350 WOBA with a 343 xWOBA, 132 WRC+. That's a monster throwback season for Jorge Polanco, but he's had a few of those along the way. That is a very good hitter in the heart of this lineup. Lubob at 46, at 37. FanDuel's got it right. You got to price this guy like a star because he's got that kind of potential on any given slate. 4,600 feels a little bit light. Love the spot in the batting order. Mark Vientos, tons of batted ball events. There are tons of high-quality batted ball events. Double-digit barrel rates each of the last 3 years. 50% or better hard hit rates 2 of those 3 years. 46.8 in the in-between season. Only resulted in 17 homers last year. 97 WRC+. Needs to deliver more than that, but he's always cheap. 27-24 today. Love the upside for power from a cheap bat at third base. Marcus Semien, we're just playing the plate appearance game. He's always going to be in the lineup, seeing plate appearances. Still lurking power for about 15 home runs, maybe 15 stolen bases. But that's about it. Tyrone Taylor's very cheap. Didn't do much last season. In seasons past, there's a little quality for batted ball events, but that's just a moving part to cheapen up a Met stack. For that price, you can throw him into any given lineup just to help you get to other players. Francisco Alvarez, on the other hand, a lot of batted ball events there. 11 home runs in 277 plate appearances, 12.1% barrel, 54.3% hard hit. He does that over a full season. That is a monster season of power out of the kid. On the card side, Weatherholt, their premium rookie. Always worth playing, but I just don't want to use these cards against Freddie Peralta today, even for contrarian reasons. They're just better contrarian spots. I'd rather use those White Sox against Sandy than tackle Freddie Peralta, a much better strikeout pitcher, with these Cardinals. Ivan Aneta is a good bat if you're going in the Cardinals' direction. 37-31, fairly cheap for a guy who hit 19 home runs, had a very good slash line last year. 371 xWOBA too, lurking under the surface, says it's all real and actually underperformed slightly. Alec Burleson at 43-34. Mix and match team, just another outfielder with maybe a little bit of plus quality on most other teams. He is one of the stars of this team. He's also the oldest player on this team at age 27. Only 43-34, mostly for DFS purposes, especially in this matchup. Just another outfielder. First base on DraftKings, outfield and first base on FanDuel. Mason Wynn at 3,028 continues to be just an overrated shortstop. Nolan Gorman did go deep, I want to say, yesterday. Definite upside for power in the long term, any given slate upside. He used to be a masher, 16+% barrel rate for 2 seasons in a row prior to last year, where he cratered down to 9.1. That's still an okay barrel rate, but needs to put his consistency back together, find his power stroke again, and has a shot at 30 home runs if it all comes together. Thomas Segisi, mix and match. Nathan Church, mix and match. Same thing for Pedro Pajes and Victor Scott, if that, at the bottom. Freddie, Mets bats. Liberator, Cards bats. Do another round of update. What happened to the ones didn't I just put the White Sox in Miami in here? I swear I had. $11.18. This is not helping us hit our target. Especially not if I'm having to do some of these teams twice. Apologies for the kind of lack of interaction in chat. Just a lot of games to get through. And with the copy pasting and everything, I just don't have it on the screen. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Having a good morning. Any questions, drop them in. Help one another out, obviously. Stacks, home run picks, all that good stuff up on the websites, over the website, only one of them, at rotoscouts.com. Give it a look. Promo code OD26 gets you in for a $4 first week, $15 first month. Give this version a save. And an upload. I don't know what the computer's chewing on. Can you guys hear that fan whirring down there? Hopefully it's not coming through the microphone annoyingly. Just copy pasting stuff. It really shouldn't be that big of a workload. Everybody's talking AI. All right. A couple updates just went up to the site. Let's keep on moving. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yikes. Yikes. All right. Only a handful of these are left on DraftKings, though, at least. Rays and the Brewers. Jacob Misiorowski, monster start in his first one. Kid's absolutely fantastic. Had a tremendous debut few games last year. Did stumble somewhat, wasn't immaculate through the season last year. in his later starts, but the strikeout upside is very, very real, and it is immense. Definitely an upside spot for him. Last season, you can see 31.9% strikeout, but some of the blip came right there, 11.4% walk. Obviously, we got to wrangle that, but elite upside, 8,500, 9,200. You can definitely use him here against a Rays team that struck out at a 22.5% rate as a collective last year. We'll leave out the 41.5 on Carson Williams. We'll take these two. We'll take these guys here. So those hitters, those six, 22.9%. Okay, that wasn't the uptick I thought it was going to be. I guess we have a few lower marks in the lineup today. Palacios at 18. So, all right. The way I should have just put that was we have 4 hitters in the lineup today that are about mid-20 strikeout rates. So a serviceable enough target for a pitcher like Miz. You do have guys that are effectively low strikeout options, like the always underrated Johnny Diaz at the top of the lineup, who's just tremendous. 300, 366, 482 last year with 25 home runs. Junior Caminero, for all his power, only struck out 19.1% of the time. Kind of under-discussed attribute of his in that just monster breakout year last year. The sky's the limit for what he can do. 5,800, 3,800, arguably a little bit underpriced. Jonathan Aranda at 45, 33, 14 homers, a tremendous slash line over 422 last season. Love the upside. Tremendous batted ball events, 12.8% barrel, 54.1% hard hit. I like him to find a lot more power, a lot more home run upside this season. Jake Fraley, kind of a mix and matchy type piece, sliding in between those guys, but if he's getting on at a 332 clip, hitting ahead of Junior, that works for me. Ced Mullins, a former 30-30 player, 17 and 22 last year, not too bad, but everything else around the edges kind of bleeding. 302 WOBA over a 284 xWOBA, 94 WRC plus, all below average. Chandler Simpson, monster stolen base option. Great hit tool as well. Not one of these guys who can't hit. He can actually put the ball in play, get to first base, hit for average. Doesn't have any power. The average is going to, the on base rather, is going to live and die with his success hitting for average, but he can hit for average. And when he gets on, he is flying, stealing bases. 44 last year, stole over 100 a couple years ago in the minors. Carson Williams, Richie Palacios, Hunter Fiducia down the bottom of the lineup, mix and match pieces all. On the Brewers side, the better of these two teams going against the lower end of these two pitchers. Rasmussen, just an average season last year, did have a nice tidy 2.76 ERA, kind of defied by the 3.72 xFIP, the 3.90 SIERA, but both of those still sub 4, 21.7% around the league average strikeout rate, 6.3% walk, just an average pitcher, but a guy you can use here and there. I just think with the run scoring ability, the ability to get on base and not necessarily need to rely on the long ball that these Brewers provide, just not a team I want to tackle with a pitcher like that. I'll take the big upside pitchers against this team. Otherwise, I think we can just kind of dance around them for most of the season because they are good run creators. If you're going Brewers direction, always in play. Just a 387 implied total. I will throw that into the mix, one of their lower totals so far this season, but still the same tremendous options. Bryce Turang from the top spot at 48.33. Stolen bases, broke out for 18 home runs with a monster uptick in premium contact last year. I don't like him to get much more than that this season, but a repeat's not out of the question. William Contreras at 46.34, 17 homers last year. Tremendous ability to get on base with that catcher eligibility. Those two things combine nice at that price from the 2 spot in the lineup. Hitting at Christian Yelich is also a great spot. 29 homers out of Yelich last year, 121 WRC plus, and a nice bounce back for power from a guy who never really went away otherwise. Jake Bauers, we've talked about him a few times already. 7 home runs on the board. Last season had a 356 xWOBA in 218 plate appearances based on a monster premium contact mark, 13.6% barrel rate. That is a good power bat from the left side. Don't leave Jake Bauers out of your Brewer stacks as you build. Garrett Mitchell, Sal Frelick, another couple of lefties here. Mitchell, pretty bad 78 plate appearances, but there is talent there. 15, 20 home run power with a little bit of speed, but needs to get on base more consistently in the show. Sal Frelick, we've seen get on base like crazy. 351 on base last year. Needs to run a little bit more. Only 19 stolen bases off of that, but hit for average last year. 12 home runs, 114 WRC plus. You can see the overperformance, though. 332 WOBA against a 299 expected mark. Blake Perkins, David Hamilton, and Joey Ortiz, all playable options down the bottom of the lineup. There is quality there, despite some underperformance in medium samples last year. You're at least getting a little bit of upside for stolen bases, medium power in full samples from a couple of those guys. Ortiz was just kind of an underperformance for the way that he hit the ball a couple seasons ago. We're all still hunting for this guy who had an 8% barrel rate, a 44% hard hit rate. He's been greatly diminished the last couple of seasons. So I don't know if we ever get that guy back, but at least he put a lot of balls in play. So if that guy shows up for a day, you get your bills paid with Joey Ortiz. Mizurowski, Brewers bats, Rays bats, Rasmussen. Yeah, I think. This Rays team not incapable of exploiting those walks if Misiorowski hits the wall with the walk problem today. That would be the one caveat I would throw in on the Rays side. Let me just grab this lineup. I won't do the full update until we get through another game or two, but we grab this lineup while we're here. Really looking forward to having a nice leisurely 7-game slate where we can get a well-timed show off, kind of take a stroll through it rather than having to talk as fast as I can about each of these games. Red Sox, Astros, both teams excellent offensive upside, but both teams coming in well under 4 implied runs. 3.85 on the Red Sox side going against Mike Burrows. Just a 3.25 because the Astros are going against Garrett Crochet. Crochet 200-plus innings in a shocker last year, 31.3% strikeout rate. None of his performance was shocking. He is elite. He is that good. The 200-plus innings was kind of shocking. That's why I have ongoing concerns about the elbow in the long term, but any given slate, monster upside. I don't love targeting these Astros, but I will use Garrett Crochet against literally anybody. So if you can get to those prices, absolutely fire away. 11-1 is very expensive on FanDuel. Mike Burrows, plenty of potential at 65, at 67. I do think you could throw some Burrows at this Red Sox lineup. Wasn't good in his first start of the year, but is a good pitcher. Does have some strikeout potential, 24.1% in a partial season with the Pirates last year. Big breakout candidate for a lot of people. 6,567. He is very cheap. SP2 candidate on DraftKings for sure, but a high danger opponent on the other side with the Red Sox. Roman Anthony, elite talent, 5,600, 3,700, still growing as a player. 303 plate appearances as a rookie last year, 292, 396, 463. Where is he going to go from there? Trevor Story at 43, 33, monster year, 25 homers, 31 stolen bases last year. Trevor Story's not done doing damage in the league. That said, just a 101 WRC plus. We've talked about it. Only walked 5% of the time. Needs to get on base more to support the otherwise tremendous line. Jarren Duran at 53, 34 is a movable piece in the outfield. Ultimately, only slightly better than just another outfielder in the long term for fantasy production. 111 WRC plus, but fill some categories for you. Wilson Contreras at 4,000, 3,000. I like him better with catcher eligibility, which he no longer has on DraftKings. 20 home runs on the board last season. Just an okay slash line, just an okay mark for a first baseman. More upside when he was a catcher. Wilyer Abreu against any righty. Love the upside for Wilyer. 12.3% barrel last year. 22 home runs on the board from the left side in 417, mostly against right-handed plate appearances. Love Wilyer at any time when we're getting a righty, and only 3,100 on FanDuel. 8.41 leads this team in the home run model. Caleb Durbin, mix and matchy kind of a piece in the infield with a little bit of hit to a little bit of stolen base upside. I've already talked about liking the power to come down from last year's 11 home runs. I think that was an outlier. Just not that bad, but we'll see. Marcelo Mayer, Carlos Narvaez, Ceddanne Rafaela, all mix and matchy kind of cheap guys down toward the bottom. Mayer's got a little bit of talent. We saw it in flashes last year, 9.2% barrel and 51.7% hard hitter. Very good. 30.1% strikeout against a 5.9% walk. Very bad. Then Ceddanne Rafaela always fills counting stats and always comes up short in the WRC plus department. It's a weird combination. If you're choosing to target Garrett Crochet with Astros, at least you're getting to a lineup of quality in a really bad spot that won't be owned at all. So you do have that going for you. You get a little bit of a discount for some of these guys too. That's about all you're going to get out of it though. Jose Altuve from the top spot at 45-33, always worth throwing into the mix if you're going to this team. Righty bat to lead off against Garrett Crochet, not a bad option. Significantly overperformed the expected WOBA last season. We will see if he manages to do it again, but he's so far been defying father time, and I think he's got at least one more good year for us. And definitely just a prime spot in this lineup, assuming that's where he's actually hitting. Probably should have grabbed the Red Sox before I talked it all the way through. Jordan Alvarez in the 2 spot, 5,400, 3,900. Those still feel a little bit cheap, especially on DraftKings for Jordan. Just one of the top 5 hitters in all of baseball. Power, everything you could possibly want. Take advantage while he's still a little bit cheap on DK. 100 or 200 too cheap on FanDuel still, but closer. Isaac Paredes for only 37-31. Not a bad option to get to if you're choosing to go to this team. Take the righty upside for him just getting into one on the right angle and dunking it into those left field seats like he's prone to do. That's a pretty cheap price for a guy who can do that. But more of a downside going up against Garrett Crochet here. Carlos Correa still hits the ball squarely. 45.9% hard hit last year, 44.5 the year before, 45.9. Very consistent. Solid bounce back season last year. Back in Houston, 106 WRC plus on the board last year. Not a bad option for the pricing, but again, against this pitcher, I don't love it. If you're going to Astros, though, I would prioritize that right-handed bat against this pitcher. Christian Walker, a lot of power from the right side, 12.9% barrel last year, even in a down season, still hit 27 homers. It's just everything else is kind of cratered around the edges. Cam Smith, Jake Myers, Bryce Matthews, and Christian Vasquez, all mix and matchy kind of guys down the bottom. Cam Smith has a lot to prove. Fell down to a 312 on base when it was all said and done last year. Jake Myers, on the other hand, got on in a 354 clip. Crater runs 7% better than average. That's an interesting bat if you're getting cheap down the bottom of a lineup that we probably don't want to play that much. The other two, just kind of lower end. Garrett Crochet way up top. I'll give it to my guy Mikey Burrows in the 2 spot, but that's probably pretty closely followed behind by the Red Sox bats, and then significantly further down the board, the Astros bats. Angels and the Cubbies. This is that ugly one for bats. 6.5 run total the last time we looked at it in this game. That has no appeal in terms of hitting. There is a little bit of power showing. But again, as we talked about yesterday, there's only so much we can model the wind into these things. It's taken care of by the run total, and you can see only Mike Trout is above the magic number today, but you do have Neto lurking there. You do have some 9s here, so be aware of that. Those might be slightly illusory in terms of the home run marks. There's only so much we can do with those, but it's reflected in the overall fantasy projections. It is reflected, in neutral environment. This would be a much more shining home run spot for those some of those right-handed power bats. Matthew Boyd, good, not great season last year. 21.4% strikeout, just average. 5.8% walk rate is fine. 15.6 strikeout minus walks is just okay. 3.21 ERA, but a 4.22 xFIP. That's the real number. So Boyd, you can throw some Angels bats at him, but under normal circumstances, these are just not quite normal circumstances. Those home run numbers went up a little bit though when I pasted that lineup in. Trout up to 10.6. Joey Adele up to 10.3 and the 3 spot in the lineup. Front loading some right-handed power here against Matthew Boyd. Angels might just be thinking, hey, we hit 1 home run today. We're going to be good with the way that offense is going to play in this game. For them, Kikuchi on the mound, more targetable than Matthew Boyd is most of the time. Total roller coaster of a pitcher, slightly better strikeout rate, way more walks, nearly a double the walk rate. Pitched to a 3.99 ERA, 4.28 xFIP that is not dissimilar from the 4.22 that Boyd had on the other side. Ultimately, 2 lefties that I would probably rather have the bats from either of these teams in a neutral site, but given the Wrigley Field day that we're having here, I do think you can play either of these pitchers, especially at very, very cheap prices. So just a good run suppressing environment. If you're choosing to go to the Angels, Neto, Trout, Adele, Soler, that's your right-handed power. They hit all in a row at the top of the lineup. Pretty straightforward up there. A lot of premium contact. Look at these barrel rates. I mean, you can even throw Moncada into the mix from last year. That is an average 5-man barrel rate of 14.7% last year. Monster premium contact upside. All those guys strike out. Last year, that was an average 28.2% strikeout rate. Feeds a little upside toward Matthew Boyd, especially with the wind at his back. Oswald Peraza, I mentioned, 2,300, 2,400. We talked about him a little bit yesterday. Former top-end prospect from the Yankees organization, getting like an everyday shot down the bottom of this lineup now. Kind of an interesting guy to watch. A lot of skills, multiple 2020 type seasons through the minor leagues. Don't quote me on that exactly, but around there. Jeimer Candelario, a veteran with a little bit of power upside. Terrible 91 plate appearances in a forgotten year last year. Dead mid price on FanDuel, third base, first base, 3,000 on DraftKings. A playable part if you're determined to go to the Angels today. Travis d'Arnaud, one of our favorite backup catchers in the league for all the barrels that he's given us over the past few seasons. Down year last year in 231 chances, though. Only 6 home runs. Sub Mendoza, 255 on base. Ouch. Bryce D'Adosio, mix and match piece at the absolute best. If you're going to the Cubs, it's a terrible run environment for them as well, but this is the better of these 2 lineups. Nico Horner, a lot of upside for hit tool. That's something that you're probably going to want in this environment. If you can't hit it out for power, get the guys who are going to dink and dunk their way to success, maybe steal some bases, score some runs. 42, 3,000 inoffensively priced for a guy with a 109 WRC plus last year. 45.31 continues to be effective pricing for Alex Bregman. Ian Happ for 43, 334 is cheap. 23 home runs from him. A lot of on base out of both of those guys. This team just stacks up so nicely because everybody's good at getting on base. Everybody's basically got mid-20s type home run power. Carson Kelly hit 17 last year. Apologies to him, but that's a good mark for a catcher in 421 chances. PCA had 31 along with 35 stolen bases. Most of these guys run a little bit too. Dansby Swanson, 24 homers, 20 steals. If you ever watched this show before, you know we love Dansby around here, especially when he's at 35, 29 and nobody goes to him. But again, we don't really want these offenses today. Scott Kingery, Dylan Carson, Matt Shaw, Mix and Matchy down toward the bottom of the still projected version of the Cubs lineup. All right, none of those other ones down that way are confirmed. Let me go back up, grab the Orioles here. Do this last quick update, and we'll get all the currently confirmed ones in, I think. All right, cue the music, Johnny. We're going to do a quick update here. Where are you guys mostly tuning in from? The workplace? Do you have this like, I'm going to minimize tab, talking in your ear, you're pretending that you're listening to a work-related call or something? I imagine some people at home, in the car. Probably mostly like home office type, I would guess. Bear with me. Little arts and crafts session here. Kind of jamming our way through this slate, though. 11:36. DraftKings starts, what did I say? 12:15, right? 105 for FanDuel. Might actually make it. All right, somebody remember where we were. Angels was the last one we talked about. And who the hell were we? Yeah, there we go. Good guess. So one downside of that, it's all sorted by the away team. And if I have to find the home team, sometimes I don't exactly remember who they're playing. Oh, those are confirmed. What's this, version 6? I think the worst day of the NBA this year, we got out to 17 versions of the update file. Baseball, fortunately, nothing like that experience. Relative, hilariously tame night in the NBA last night. It was like everybody was playing today night. It was a lot of fun. Or I shouldn't say a lot of fun. It wasn't the usual frustrating head banging on the wall type experience that it normally is, keeping everything in line with the NBA. NBA projections are included along with NHL projections, as well as all these baseball projections. In addition to, you get these snapshots of these dashboards for all the statistical analysis that you want to do on your own. Pitcher projections, hitter projections, top stacks, home run picks. Today's home run pick of the day, if you didn't hear it earlier, accidentally took a guy who's only on the FanDuel slate. Apologies to you DraftKings folks, but Kerry Carpenter from the Detroit Tigers. Love the upside for some Tigers offense today. So if you're betting home run props, you've got a whole piece up on the website that picks a home run hitter from every single game. Those have been on fire if you've been following along early in the season. Back-to-back days of hitting the main home run pick as well. Ian Happ, Willie Adames. See if we get it today. Let me go back to the game we're actually here to talk about. Website's updated. Speaking of the Tigers, that was the last game on the DraftKings slate, wasn't it? So we did actually make it. I lost track. All right, good. DraftKings slate. You are good to go build. These last 3 games might be relevant for you if you're playing the later slate, but from here on out, these are not on DK. So we got a little time. Let me take a quick look at what everybody's talking about in chat now that I got a second. Michael Botcher says, Vito and Jason are either bots or the same person with multiple accounts. So weird how people spend their time these days. Yeah, it does look like they're coming from the same place, or I don't know that they're bots, but yeah, they're definitely trolling from the same place, getting their information fed from the same place. I don't know. Weird people trickle on in. Candelario revenge game. What would you be looking to do with the Orioles in 5 lineups on DK? Sprinkle in if they fit as filler. Bring me all the way back to that. I don't love tackling Eovaldi. I have a healthy respect for Nathan Eovaldi and his ability to limit runs. If you wanted to go that route, though, and given the 4.41 implied total, you got a little bit of reason to go there, I guess. Yeah, I would probably use it somewhat conservatively and kind of, like you said, sprinkle across. Remy saying Boston updated lineup. Narvaez is out now. Grab that while we're here. Connor Wong into the lineup. Appreciate that, Remy. Gold star for Remy for the day. Nubo Sox lineup right there. Damn it, that was the wrong one. That might have been why I lost that other game. I did it again. I hate that. You click on the wrong one, and then the wrong one goes to the top of the list, and then you click on it again. I do it basically every time. All right, same drill. I'll grab this one, and then we'll update it. Actually, no. Since it's DK lock coming up, let me just put this in now. Just take a moment. So moving on, just top of the head for a moment. As mentioned, I do like the upside for the Detroit Tigers today. Just love those home run bats, those big lefty home run bats. So that's a interesting piece that we're about to get to. Let me save this file. But as mentioned, Kerry Carpenter, your home run pick of the day. I was torn between him and Riley Green. I really was. I didn't know which one I wanted to take, but ended up going Kerry's direction. So Riley probably hits it for you. But that's just a high-quality lineup. And we get him in a decent enough spot against Zach Gallen. Obviously a guy who's had a lot of success in the show in years past, but also a guy who's flawed and can get got a lot of the time. A guy who can give up power, a guy who can give up too many walks and too many opportunities. So against a high-quality lineup like Detroit, I'm willing to take that shot. Late option from the FanDuel slate, not a bad upside play, I think, for some of us to consider. I think given the nature of the slate, some of the softer spots available on the slate, people might not choose to immediately target Zach Gallen. On the other side of that game, just literally the best pitcher in baseball, Tarek Skubal. Pretty easy choice. Love Skubal. If you can afford it, do it. Diamondbacks have some quality in their lineup. You just don't care. He's just built different. All right. Let's get back to it. So Skubal checks in at 11.3, the highest overall projection on the slate. 32% strikeout against a 4.4% walk rate last season. 32.1% CSW. Just utterly elite in every sense. 2.21 ERA against a 2.66 xFIP. 2.71 Sierra. A 0.89 whip. Doesn't give up power. Doesn't have any flaws at all. Great at inducing weak and medium contact. Even against the high quality lineup, just fire away. Gallen, to put some numbers on it, 21.5% strikeout against an 8.1% walk, way substandard last year. Just a 13.4% K-minus BB. 4.83 ERA. That is masking a much better 4.12 xFIP, 4.24 Sierra. Those are more like Zach Gallen, but that's still 4+. We want Gallen in the 3.75, 3.50 kind of a range. Didn't really come with the strikeouts that he used to. Gave up a lot of premium contact, 3.81% home runs, over the threshold there, just under it there. If we get back to these kind of numbers, 25, 26% strikeout rate, it's a different pitcher. Just was a diminished guy last year. So I think we're targeting more that kind of an option with some of these high quality Tigers bats. Just 4 innings in his first start of the season, gave up 4 earned runs on 5 hits, including a home run, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. That was against the Dodgers, so you give him a little forgiveness, but another high quality offense to tangle with here. If you're going Tigers, we don't have the confirmed yet. So we'll talk about this projected version. Colt Keith off the top. If you've been here to start the season, you know we like Colt Keith's barrel rate, his hard hit rate, and his growth from last season. And we like him to continue growing. This is a guy who came up as a top prospect. It's taken maybe a minute longer than people might have wanted for him to fully develop. But this is a good bat. He hit 13 home runs last year, had a 341 xWOBA lurking under that 326 actual. That tells us a lot about his potential to grow more, and had a 109 WRC plus last year. Kevin McGonigal, this year's hotshot rookie. Kid's off to a killer start. 333, 429, 444, 395 weighted on base against a 529 xWOBA. Holy hell. It's only 21 plate appearances. None of that means anything, but it's nice to see the kid get off to a good start. He's only priced at 2,800. FanDuel hasn't really taken notice yet. FanDuel's hilarious. If you follow hockey at all, FanDuel has gone the entire season, literally the entire season, without adding guys to the player pool. There are players that every single day I have to grab them and paste them into the FanDuel salary list so that I can project them for DraftKings, and then I have to zero out their projection on the FanDuel when I go and update it. It's like you could take 5 minutes and find out, all right, who are the guys we haven't been putting salaries on? I could give you a list. Jonathan Asperat, from the defenseman from the Bruins, comes to mind. There's like a dozen of them. It's hilarious. So no surprise that Kevin McGonigal hasn't gotten noticed. Take advantage, 2,800. That's a fantastic piece in this lineup. Gleyber Torres, we've been singing his praises since the beginning of the year. 363 xWOBA tells you the entire story from last season. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter. That's the power core. As mentioned, I was torn between Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter, 893, 9.0. Not our highest marks in the home run model, but among the higher overall marks. Handful of guys over 10 today, peaking at Aaron Judge, but not a massive list, and they're not far behind in their upper nines. Joe Adell climbed a little bit there, but again, that Angels one might be a little bit of an illusion. So love the upside for Green and Carpenter on either side of Spencer Torkelson, and all of his right-handed power upside. 31 home runs out of him last year, so don't diminish him. I want all three of those guys in most of my Tiger stacks, and then I'll build in the other pieces around them. Dylan Dingler has a lot of pop in the bat for a cheap catcher. 2,900, you just don't need the catcher spot, so it takes a little value away. And I don't love the idea, like I want Torkelson in the first base, catcher first base, and then I want to use util in other ways. But when you need to get a catcher, Dylan Dingler is a great option. He will be lower owned for that, so that makes him at least somewhat appealing when you're stacking this Tigers team on FanDuel. Parker Meadows, a little bit of upside for power and speed, but just hasn't been around enough in recent seasons to really deliver on it. Javi Baez, just mostly disinterested, does have multi-position for cheap, though. On the Diamondback side, if you're choosing to target Tarek Skubal, I got bad news for you. It's probably not going to work. Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, and Geraldo Perdomo should probably be a big, big part of your plans if you're doing that, though. Those are their 3-star caliber players. 28 homers, 31 homers, 20 homers last season. 145, 139, 138 WRC plus. So between the three guys, they essentially amount to an Aaron Judge in terms of how the percentage above average. That's how good Aaron Judge is. I'm such a homer. Corbin Carroll's a star. He fills fantasy stats. Another player, though, as mentioned, I do like the power to come down a little bit given that hamate bone injury. Perdomo got on base a ton, hit 20 homers, stole 27 bases last season. All three of those guys hitting ahead of Gabriel Moreno, who's kind of an interesting catcher. Again, we don't need catcher on FanDuel, but he's a $2,700 cog in the machine here who does have a decent bat, ability to get on base, had a good slash line over 309 chances last year, puts good wood on the ball, and it only costs $2,700. At worst, he helps you average down the pricing. It's just you don't want to really take three guys at those prices to throw at Tarek Skubal, and you need those three guys in most of your Diamondback stacks if you're going to succeed here. So kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. No, it's just damned if you do, actually. You're fine if you don't. Yeah, just damned if you do. Don't do it. Nolan Arenado, totally lost. He's gone. He's not coming back. Jose Fernandez, monster debut yesterday. Kid looked really, really good. We looked at his numbers because he was mid-price going into yesterday. Nothing about that changed. Forget what the actual production was. I know he hit a home run. Did he hit 2? He did hit 2. 3 for 4, 2 home runs. Not bad for Major League debut. Probably not going to sustain that kind of output, but anybody at the dead mid price, if I'm building with this team, is interesting. It's just not the day to build with this team. Carlos Santana mostly shot down the bottom of the lineup. Jorge Barrosa and Jordan Lawler. Lawler, top prospect pedigree, but has not delivered in small samples in the show. Does have cheap multi-position down the bottom, though. But again, we're just not targeting Skubal here. Skubal, way up top. Tigers bats, not too far behind, but appreciable difference. Zach Gallen probably above the Diamondbacks bats. D-backs bringing up the bottom of the stacks board. Yanks, Mariners. Again, pitching matchups have been great out in Seattle this week. We had, 5-0 win for the Yankees yesterday. Max Fried hung a good one out there. Yankees got to Gilbert a little bit. Mariners bounce right back with George Kirby, though. Everything I said yesterday about Gilbert applies to Kirby in terms of good strikeout rate, not quite the strikeout rate that Gilbert put up last season, but a 26.1 last year against a 5.5% walk. That is what this team focuses on, that strikeout minus walk rate. And they are very, very good for it. 3.25 xFIP, 3.39 Sierra hiding under that bumpier 4.21 ERA. Those are the more realistic numbers for Kirby. Only made 23 starts, dealt with some injury last season, as most of these Mariners pitchers did. But when he's available, he is fantastic. It's just, you got to tangle with the Yankees if you want to use them. 3.49 implied total for the Yanks. We just saw it last night, right? A 5-run total didn't exactly bend the DFS slate, but it certainly ruined your night if you had the Mariners pitcher, and that could be what you're dealing with here against Kirby, with Kirby. So high danger spot for him. Cam Schlittler, interesting option, going up against a very capable Mariners lineup. They're drawing a 3.61 total and technically a higher implied total than the Yankees have on the other side. Probably the better option if you're choosing bats out of this just for their matchup against the pitcher. But Schlittler's been very good in his brief major league career so far in terms of finding strikeouts. The stuff is excellent. He's got really outrageous repertoire of stuff. First start, 5 1/3. I like that he pitched into the 6th inning, even though he didn't complete it. 8 strikeouts in that one, gave up just 1 hit. So Boone let him go back out there to start the 6th. I don't necessarily think he completes the 6th inning. I don't necessarily think we get a shot at a quality start, just given the way that Boone likes to manage these guys. But he's been very effective in the innings that he gets. And if he's going like that again today, Boone will at least let him try and get through the 6th. If he gives up 1 hit through there or puts anybody on, it's probably coming out. So no guarantee, but 9,300, he's in play at least. If you go into Yankees bats, off the top, Trent Grisham, monster year last year, probably not going to repeat those numbers, but could repeat the on-base skills with a drop by 10 home runs or so. We'll see. He's off to a good start. Aaron Judge, just best overall hitter in the game. One of, if you want to be fair to your favorite player of choice, but just absolute lock of a Hall of Famer. People love to say that this must be what it's like watching, or what it was like watching Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle play, and that's very true. This guy is that good. 204 WRC plus to make my point from before. Those 3 guys stacked on top of one another with their WRC pluses equal what Aaron Judge did in terms of the difference between him and the average player for run creation. 104% better than the average player last year. It's just stupid. Cody Bellinger, Ben Rice, Giancarlo Stanton, nice little core of power. Throw Jazz Chisholm into that mix as well. Love the upside for power from those bats. Discerning hitters in Ben Rice. Cody Bellinger can be a very discerning hitter. Low strikeout rate, medium walk rate out of him, fairly low strikeout. A lot of walks out of Ben Rice. Monster premium contact out of Rice. Not so much from Cody Bellinger, but he delivers power. Hit 29 home runs despite not making good contact. Is kind of Semien-like in that regard. Doesn't need the premium contact to find the home run upside. So excellent opportunities for both those lefties. And then to Giancarlo Stanton, who's just been raking to start the season, has more power than basically anybody in the league, more bat speed than basically anybody in the league, just needs to be on the field. And he delivers just day after day after day. If he makes 500 plate appearances this season, watch out. Jazzy Chisholm still hunting for a good start, 31-31 last season. I love him to get back to at least, 25-25 kind of a year. Maybe he gets back to 30-30. He had visions of 50-50. We will see. But his price has come down a little bit. 3,300 on a slow start. Love that for Jazz. Just not a great spot against George Kirby here. Ryan McMahon, another quality lefty bat. A little bit of power upside. Hit 20 home runs. Slipped badly in the average department. Only a 312 on base last season. 86 WRC plus. Needs to claw back some on base, but has always made good contact from the left side. Austin Wells got the night off. Should be back in the lineup with some lefty pop from the catcher spot today. But again, we don't need the position on FanDuel. And then Jose Caballero, if he's in the bottom spot, I love that for the on-base skills, the cheap positional flexibility, and the stolen base upside, and just wrap them back around to Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, and so on. That is a good option to differentiate some lineups, differentiate some price, and just move him around and put him in combination with whatever else you want to get to. Excellent, excellent Swiss Army knife option down toward the bottom of the Yankees lineup. Brendan Donovan is that on the top of the Mariners lineup. Plays 4 positions, 3,500. That is a very good option. Gets on base like crazy. Steals the occasional base. A little bit of power, a little bit more power maybe than Jose Caballero in the long run. 119 WRC plus for him last season. Tremendous option hitting ahead of Cal Raleigh, ahead of Julio Rodriguez. Josh Naylor, who got his first hit of the season. Randy Rosarena is a good option for power and speed from the heart of the lineup. This is a good up and down Mariners lineup. And you've got hidden gems down toward the bottom. that are, very rapidly revealing themselves in their ability to hit the ball. Luke Raley, double-digit barrel rates each of the last 3 seasons, mid-40s hard hit rates. That is a good player lurking there waiting to break out. Only 202, 319, 311 for all that premium contact last year with just 4 home runs. That is a better hitter than that. Dominic Canzone has always made elite contact from the left side. That is another very good potential bat. 11 home runs, a much more productive 268 plate appearances out of Canzone last year. Had a 141 WRC plus, 376 xWOBA. That is a guy to watch, given that premium contact. Cole Young, Leo Rivas just keeping the spots warm in the middle infield. Kirby, Schlittler, Yankees. No, sorry. Kirby, Schlittler, Mariners, Yankees. Close between all things, though. Your last game in this 13-game marathon. Last one on FanDuel. Your DraftKings slate starts in about 15 minutes, gang. FanDuel, you got a little bit more time. 1:05 start on the FanDuel slate. Let me just make sure that's correct. 12:15. Yeah, scared me. For some reason, Labs chose to assign a second main slate to FanDuel today and started at 12:15 as well, but it doesn't actually exist. DraftKings 10-gamer at 12:15, FanDuel 1:05 start. So you got a little bit more building time for FanDuel. No additional confirmed lineups have come in. So our last game, I mentioned Nick Pivetta way back at the beginning of the show. 7,800 on your FanDuel slate. I'm kind of intrigued by the last option available. Going up against a gettable enough Giants lineup. There's not a ton of strikeout upside, but Pivetta can find his fair share. 26.4% last year. Tidy 19.4 strikeout minus walk rate, a 2.87 ERA. The xFIP, the Sierra were closing in on a full run higher, but he limited walks. He limited on-base opportunities, 0.99 whip for the season in 31 starts. Not the best option for depth, but also not terrible. 181 and 2/3 over the 31 starts. So plenty of upside, keeping the Giants down at a 368 implied total. Only cost 7,800. That is a salary that can help you build some of those stacks out. So I kind of like Pivetta down there. In his first start of the year, only lasted 3 innings. Struck out 4, walked 3, gave up 6 earned runs on 7 hits. That was against the Tigers. Not a great outing. He's a much better pitcher than that. So I think we give him another crack here against the Giants. I do think you could play some Giants back the other way. If you get carried away with your Pivetta shares, grab a few hedge stacks of Giants, because that is a good lineup. We saw Willie go off a little bit yesterday. This team came through, scored I think they were second on the board for stacks yesterday. Came through, scored a solid handful of runs. Got plenty of power here. A little bit of stolen base upside. Bunch of guys in the neighborhood of 10 and 12 last season. Need to get on base a little bit more consistently. That's not the best lineup for on base. Matt Chapman at 340 and obviously Rafi Devers at 372 were your high watermarks last season. Everybody else mostly just adequate. The 347 out of Harrison Bader, but that's kind of an outlier mark for him. Everybody else is just kind of okay. Willie hit 30 home runs last year. Tons of power upside. Wildly inconsistent, frustrating hitter. But when you get him on the right day, monster premium contact and tons of ability from the shortstop spot for still only 2,900. Rafi Devers, I'll harp on it until the cows come home. Did not have a bad year last year. Was utterly tremendous all through last season. Only 3,500. Third base and first base eligible. Elliot Ramos for 29. 21 home runs in a adequate season last year. Wasn't great, but was okay. And came back and was the first guy since Barry Bonds to back-to-back seasons open up in left field for the San Francisco Giants. Luis Arias, Matt Chapman, Young-Hoo Lee, playable pieces. I like Matt Chapman much better than Arias or Lee. Those guys are slap hitters who just put the ball in play. In between, Chapman has a ton of power upside still. 21 homers in a down year last year. Still had a 340 xWOB under the 336 actual. Still had a 9.9% barrel. Slipped a little bit year over year, but closing in on 10, 47.6% hard hit. A lot of walks. Chapman's still a very good option. Bader, again, typically plays over his head, but has successfully strung together multiple seasons of doing that. 122 WRC plus shouldn't be completely ignored in the outfield. Serviceable option for 2,400. Better than Patty Bailey and Casey Schmidt at the bottom of the lineup anyway. Then we close things out with the Padres against Adrian Hauser, who you do not want. Just a 1.93% home run rate if we want to start with something good. Effective at keeping the ball down. Sub 10 degree average launch last year, over 125 innings. Only a 17.8% strikeout against too many walks, 10.42 strikeout minus walk rate, 3.31 ERA, nothing doing there, 4.30 xFIP, 4.46 Sierra, and that strikeout minus walk rate. Among all these things, by the way, I haven't mentioned this, that's actually your best indicator of future ERA, not the fancy shit over here. Strikeout minus walk rate, simple as that. So Hauser's a piece we don't really want. Pavetta's a piece we want. I think we can grab some Padres bats against Hauser. Cronenworth gets on base like crazy for 2,700 with second base eligibility. That's perfectly fine. Hitting ahead of Fernando Tatis, who has all the power in the world. 25 home runs was a dip last season. Last couple of years, the power's been down somewhat since he got pinched for the PEDs a couple years ago. But 32 stolen bases, it is still a star caliber talent. And I believe the power is going to come back at some point. Still made great contact. Had a 370 xWOBA under that already elite 353 WOBA. Manny Machado, 3,500. Good season last year, 27 homers, even stole 14 bases, 123 WRC plus. Jackson Merrill, 16 home runs in a down year last year, coming back from the injury. I like him to get back to 2020 type levels or beyond. Xander Bogaerts stole 20 bags last year, created runs 4% better than average. Ramon Laureano had a monster season with 24 homers, solid slash line, a 138 WRC plus. Technically led this team last year. I know he wasn't on this team the entire season, but this confirmed lineup, he was the WRC plus leader from last year. Gavin Sheets, Nick Castellanos, and Luis Campusano down the bottom of the lineup. At worst, mix and match pieces for Sheets and Castellanos. They're both playable. 19 and 17 home runs, 250 type hitters, 111 WRC plus for Sheets. Much better season than Castellanos' 90 WRC plus. You can also see the difference in their expected weighted on base. 340 versus 302. Sheets is the guy you really want. 2,300. Fortunately, he's even cheaper. And you get the lefty bat there against a weak righty. Luis Campusano is just a mix and match catcher, if that. Went over. This is one of my favorite things that we've talked about. 0 for 27 last year. Poor guy. Played the whole season to get a hit. That's about it, gang. How about that? We made it. Time to spare. 12:02 on the clock. Still got 13 minutes to build your DraftKings lineups with all that information dumped in your heads. I'm going to build a couple FanDuel lineups. I'm going to keep the site updated through those lineup confirmations. And then at some point, I'm going to take a quick nap and then come right back and do all of the basketball and hockey projections for tonight. I didn't sleep at all last night, knowing that I had to get up and knock all this stuff out in the morning, though. So hitting the wall a little bit tired. What do we have to close out here? Check out the website, rotoscouts.com. Scrolling. Did I not have that scrolling across the bottom of the screen? Why did that shut off? There it is. It should have been scrolling across the screen. Promo code OD26 gets you a $4 first week, $15 first month as your promo code. This is the last day for that. I might roll out another one afterward. I don't know why I just turned it off. Your home run pick of the day was Kerry Carpenter from the Detroit Tigers. Let's throw a DraftKings guy into the mix. So many of these are too easy. Juan Soto, is that too easy? It feels too easy. Junior's too easy. Trying to parse who's on which slate as I'm doing this. How about George Springer? He's on that slate, right? George Springer, why not? Just throw somebody into the mix for the hell of it. But Kerry Carpenter was the official one. That's up on the website. Team by team home run picks are on the website. All these projections, these dashboards, you can get them as snapshots, screenshots of these dashboards. Do your own statistical analysis for everything we care about alongside the projections, the pricing, the positions. Top stacks board, power index, all these things available for under $1 a day, along with NBA and NHL DFS projections for every single main slate that comes along. So check out rotoscouts.com, like and subscribe here on YouTube. Follow the Twitter handle at Rotoscouts. Check that out as well. That all helps, feeds the algorithm, helps people find us like these good people who are contributing in chat at the beginning of the show. You guys absolutely rock out there. Good luck this afternoon. Somebody go win something. Come on back, share the results when you do tomorrow. We'll be back for more action tomorrow. See you guys.